The sweet sunrise docks without issue. Nobody challenges us as we walk down the gangway, which should not be happening. I was joking earlier, but perhaps it is true. They may all be dead. Without a word, the knights and their staff form a small convoy, and as we walk directly to the residence of the Lancaster clan, I do my best to hide my reaction. I do not recognize the city. The mix of blacks and whites is the same, and French is still prevalent, yet now German and Irish have joined the mix. Gas-powered lamps have popped up from the ground and added their unwavering light to the lanterns and candles, reflecting on the gold and silver of jewelry on wrists and earlobes. Fashions clash and compete in a carnival of colors. The smell of spice, alcohol and sweat has not changed, but it is now multiplied to match the tide of humanity clogging the streets, glad to be out after a day of suffocating heat. Only the architecture, showing hints of Spanish influence, has not changed so much yet. The city has grown and fattened formidably. I knew that the world would move forward without me, yet being subjected to irrefutable proof of the march of time still troubles me. And now is not the time to lower my guard. I trail behind the squad of knights, with Jimena at my side and mortal workers at the back. I half expected them to look like a military squad mid-operation, but it seems that my disdain for Anatole is clouding my judgment. They move seamlessly in and out of the flow of people. Anatole is the rich scion of a merchant family while Aisha is a meek girl on an errand. Alaric is the smiling rake, robbing hearts and catching the attention as he goes. Alec plays the role of the silent thug, on his way to ruin someone's evening and quite possibly, their kneecaps. He does not need any acting skill for that. They fit in. Only someone who would know to look for them could identify them. They do not even walk at the same speed. Without incident, we leave the view car behind and walk to the outskirts. The night gradually takes back its right and the deafening din of people lowers to a murmur. We come across fewer people and those who look at us lower their eyes and scurry away. They have good instincts. The Lancaster's mansion is dark. Anatole lifts a fist and after a quick series of signs, Aisha and Alaric disappear to the sides. Alec recovers a shield and axe from a crate. I check around. The last bystander is hurriedly deciding to change path. Hey, all the vampires in the squad have a name that starts with an A. Truly, Jimena does not belong. She should quit this silly notion of upholding the law across the globe and join with me instead. I am interrupted in my subversive thoughts when the rest of the team moves forward. As a prisoner they are not authorized to leave behind, I have received clear instructions on how to proceed. They can be summarized as follows. Stay right behind. Don't get in the way. In fact, don't do anything. Also, shut up. The language was a bit more flowery, but the meaning was clear. As soon as we pass the outer gate and the manor proper is in view, I can tell that something has gone wrong. One of the double doors of the entrance lies slightly opened and there are visible traces of damage. I can smell a faint scent of old blood beneath the usual roses and cedar. Anatole signs again and the others move. They stop at the threshold, inspect it for traps and get in. After a few moments, I join them. I have never seen the main hall so deserted. The place is empty and smells of dust and a bit of rot. There are no lights. A lone decorative amphora lies on the door, smashed. The door to Baudouin's study lies open. The squad is somewhere, silently clearing the place. Their aura is masked and they are silent, so I am not sure where they went. Slowly, I approach the study. I notice that the door has been forced. The office is wrecked. Someone went through it with methodical violence. The bookshelves are empty, their contents spread on the ground. A spilled pot of ink made a stain that dripped on the carpet. All the paintings are on the ground. I notice that one of them was hiding a safe which is currently closed. It looks like somebody attempted to open it without success. You used to live here, yes? Asks a neutral voice. I school my reaction and turn to Anatole. The bastard crept up on me. I did, for about 6 months. Can you think of any place where survivors might be hidden? Suddenly I am useful, and he is polite. I could inform him that he is welcome to find the nearest bundle of bayonets and sit on it, but I managed to control myself. The matter is serious. There is a panic room of sorts, behind the pantry. Lead us there. I pass him by and make my way through the ground floor with the rest of the team in tow. Aisha and Alaric join us from the side alley, quickly signing what I assume is the code for "I ain't found shit." We move quickly and silently. Since I have the lead, I am extremely careful. There are no traps though. No steel lines drawn across the corridor, no hidden powder charges and no magic. Nothing. What I do find are blood spots. People died here, but their corpses were disposed of. I open the pantry door carefully after checking through the keyhole and sniffing it for good measure. I focused on my hearing in case somebody trapped it like that priest trapped his home back in Marquette. Still nothing. The pantry itself is well provisioned and from behind a cupboard, I hear breathing. Something warns me and I move my shoulder before Anatole can touch it. I refrain from hissing. He is not looking at me but at the safe room. The squad carefully deploys while Alaric and Aisha remain in the corridor to guard the rear. Anatole slowly slides the piece of furniture aside. It moves on prepared railings with little noise. Behind, we find an empty room and in it, one of the cattle in maid uniform sobbing uncontrollably. She stinks of old fear and sweat. She also relieved herself in one corner of the room. The stench is horrendous. She disgusts me. We make cattle by removing from them what we appreciate in humans. The irony of despising our own creations does not escape me. The mewling human is still cowering as Anatole lights a lantern. She takes in his dark countenance and her tear-marked face turns ecstatic. "Oh master, master, thank you. Shoo, tell me, what happened here?" Yes, of course. Where to start? This place was attacked. Ah, yes. The White Cabal found us. You know about them? I do. They assaulted during the day. The guards were quickly overwhelmed. Their vicious soldiers fought with no mercy. I was so scared. Go on. They killed Sophie. She forgot to lock herself, she was just slumbering in a bedroom upstairs. Hold on. There were 7 Lancaster vampires here when I arrived. 8 if you count the one that died in the fortress. I killed Charlotte the fat sow when I escaped, and Lambert in Marquette. Sophie the nitwit died here. That only leaves more, Melusine, Wilburn the rapist and Harold the bully. By the Watcher, I'm halfway done. What an auspicious night. They failed to locate the others since the resting chambers can only be opened from the inside, the cattle continues. Defense of a vampire nest is always the same. The enemy attacks at dawn. They need to successfully overcome the mortal defenders and then locate the vampires. We always sleep beneath the ground so it takes wit to find us and explosives to reach us. Sometimes, the mortals will also set the building on fire to slow down the assault like they did at the vampire fortress. If the attackers fail to eliminate everyone in time, the lords and ladies wake up first and they are usually displeased at the intrusion. I am talking about ripping your limbs off and bludgeoning your friends to a pulp with it levels of miffed. Then, as time passes, the situation grows more dire. It is a race against time, one that the White Cabal lost. People who attack a fortress during the night are simply suicidal. The mages escaped quickly when they realized they could not get at our masters. They left the unarmed ones alive. How very humane of them. I will have to remember this weakness. At night, Lady Moore ordered the others to pursue the Cabal and exterminate them. One of her mercenaries successfully managed to track the retreating group to a small hamlet northwest of here called Treese Chasse. Melusine was put in charge because Lambert is still not back from hunting that deviant. A Lancaster calling me deviant? Pot, meat kettle. I hear Jimena scoff lightly at my side. Thank you for the support, sister. What about Lady Moore? Asks Anatole. After the others were gone, she evacuated the building with Baudouin, the new fledgling and a few others. I don't know where they went, I swear. The squad leader is silent. I can tell he disapproves of a lady leaving this insult unanswered. I can only assume that he and Moore are not acquainted, or he would know that she does not have a speck of honor. She does, however, care about her reputation. There must be more at play. Anatole does not react at the mention of a fledgling. He already knows of her poaching activities. Why are you still here? Anatole asks. I knew you would come back. I am here to serve, master, the cattle says with an empty smile. Her eyes are full of blind adoration. Most likely, she is too far gone to live by herself. Of course. You have done well. I can tell what is coming. All my instincts are screaming of it, yet I still raise a brow when the knight decapitates her in one smooth summoning of his soul sword. The smile is still there on the detached head, manic and strained. Anatole is expedient. I am not sure if I approve of the waste. On the other hand, she would have slowed us down. We follow protocol. Then we go after the attack group, he continues. The others nod, and we depart. It turns out that protocol dictates that any compromised lair must be purged. As we leave, I turn to take one last glimpse at the blazing inferno engulfing the manor, enjoying every second of it. The devouring fire cleanses Lancaster presence and my memories from this place, the flames climbing up to the heaven in a great roar. They cast strange shadows on surroundings that used to be familiar and that I am now leaving behind. Yes. Enemy thing set on fire. Beautiful. I could watch this all night. It's only missing a screaming Lancaster or two roasting on a pit to make it even more interesting. I could also laugh maniacally. Fortunately, I am a mature and devious master vampire and I have no need of those artifices to feel satisfaction. It would still be nice though. Ah well. Our steps carry us northwest through swampy ground and slums resulting from rapid expansion. Both the Mississippi to our south and Lake Pontchartrain to our north conspire to make the air humid and oppressing. Our mortal followers fan themselves despite the late hour. Our guide, a local contact we picked up near the pier, leads the way. Sometimes, he turns around as if to make sure we were still here and flinches when some of us are. The squad patrols along our small convoy by group, so when the poor man checks on us, he never sees the same faces. The others come and go without a noise. After 2 hours at a brisk pace we come in full view of our destination. Tres Chasse is a dump. It also means sad hunt in French, which I hope is not prophetic. No more than 200 people live here at any time, piled in squalid houses centered around a central pair of workshops and a small church. Our guide informs us that the city provides cheap ceramics and tablecloth for the whole region. I will admit that Marquette was not much to look at, but even I can tell this place reeks of misery, of people barely eking out a living. There is no paint, only a few decorations, and piles of refuse litter the place. I smell the stench of rubbish and filth even under the acrid scent of smoke. That is the other important thing. Tres Chasse was the scene of a recent battle, of which traces can be clearly seen. Plumes of black fumes dot the city. More indicative of vampire presence, the church is missing, presumably collapsed. Form a camp. Hide, Anatole orders, and the mortal assistants move to the side of the road with well-practiced ease. In the meanwhile, the knights pick up their gear and leave for the seclusion of a thicket to get changed. Ah! I now realize that I can never join their rank. Ever. Now dressed in their armor and fully equipped, they spread out and disappear into the dense woods surrounding our destination. Jimena, Aisha and I are left behind, advancing at a sedate pace. The Vestal has her staff out and I feel magic coming from her, though it's extremely subtle. I use the downtime to lean towards my sister. So, HRM, do you always get naked in front of each other when you don your armors? Just like that? By the eye, you ogled us didn't you, you little pervert? Did not. Alaric has such a perfect butt, she adds dreamily. Well, it's rather nice I suppose, I answer before slapping my mouth. Jimena does not say anything. Her gotcha grin speaks for her. I got manipulated by Jimena of all people. Arg. I really need to focus or I'll never manage to save Aisha tonight. I keep silent and look around until we enter the village proper. The outer ring of houses has been barricaded. Furniture and bags of half-finished cloth are in the way, yet there are no signs of violence here. The entire setting is bizarre. It looks like the city was ready for a siege, but no one warned the authorities. It could be Lancaster influence at work or else, something more sinister. A hoot sounds to our right. We leave the first of 3 concentric circles of houses behind and move towards the sound. We also encounter our first victim. A white cabal combatant, Jimena comments. The dead man is set against a wall, head bowed. He wears a white jacket stained with blood caused by multiple chest wounds, delivered with a blade. Sloppy work, that. A broken musket lies by his side. He does not have any gauntlet that I can tell. Not a mage then, I whisper. Not all of the white cabal can cast. Their ranks also contain foot soldiers. Do not underestimate them, their training is comprehensive and they are dedicated. I nod noncommittally. I rarely underestimate my opponents to start with. We go on and I keep looking around, searching for any signs of hostility. I find none. What I do find are blood tracks. A lot of people died here, yet only a few bodies have been left behind. They could have run out of time to clear out everything, I suppose. My unease grows as the strangeness of the situation only increases. There is a lot here that makes little sense, and so I keep searching around for hints. I inspect every house we go by for runes, in case our foes manage to hide the spell's auras. I check every window for movement in case they successfully mask their presence. So far, nothing. It takes us only a minute to reach a taller house closer to the center, moving low and fast. Our destination is grander than any other edifice we saw so far. Why, the planks are even a bit varnished. The proprietor attempted to imitate Victorian house architecture with modest means and poor judgment. The resulting horror is what I would expect if a skinwalker could turn into a building and were caught mid-transformation. It even smells a bit similar. There really is no accounting for taste. Shaking my head at this embarrassment, I follow the other 2 inside. The rest of the team has converged into a living room of sorts. Honestly, I would just call it a surviving room instead, it is far more fitting. The furniture is made from wobbly planks, the couches are slightly decrepit and there is a dented tea set on a table near the entrance. As I enter, my nose revolts. At least half a dozen people died here, less than 3 hours ago. The blood is still sticky. And in the middle of the room, there is a conspicuous pile of ash. 4 gone, 3 to go. Report, says Anatole. The other members speak in turn. I learn that all the houses are empty, that there are tracks going out of the town's only road, to the north, so the population was presumably evacuated recently. The church is completely gone, but the pot factory still stands, and its entrance and few windows are heavily warded. Of the Lancasters, there are no signs. I do not pay much attention as the others exchange ideas on how to breach the workshop. If somebody is going to kill Aisha, taking us by surprise is still the best solution. I focus and look outside through windows. And I find something. Excuse me, I say, and the knights turn to me. Before Anatole can tell me off, I point at a nearby house and say, I would like to inspect this ruin. They all turn to see where I point at. My target is a half-collapsed home near the main road to the north, slightly closer to the center of the town. The destroyed church is right next to it. I'll go with her. I want to look at their defenses, says Jimena. I am once more grateful for her continuous help. Anatole lets us go without a word and the squad resumes their preparations, no doubt happy to see the back of us outsiders. Now that being an absolute tit interferes with his chances at survival, Anatole has been unusually amenable. I shall enjoy it while it lasts. Jimena follows me out. We move like shadows from cover to cover. At the edge of the road, she stops me. You do your thing, I want to look at the workshop. I nod and return my attention to the place I chose while she climbs a tree to get a better view. I did not choose the place at random. Nothing happened so far, and the city is empty. The Lancasters no longer have the numbers to kill Aisha, so the White Cabal are the most likely culprits, especially since they killed at least one of their attackers. If I want to know more and get some measure of warning, I need to gather information, and this is the best place to start. The edifice in front of me shows extensive signs of battle. The logs that form its walls are pockmarked with bullet impacts and singed by more than a few spells. A White Cabal corpse lies near the entrance with half his head torn off, killed as he was getting in. I move across the road and through the door. The smell warns me in advance, but the spectacle is still impressive. Inside, I find at least 4 tracks of blood where bodies have been dragged out. There is also a pile of ash. 5 down, 2 to go. I am just a little bit worried now. Besides the ash, only one body is left, and he is not White Cabal. Decked in a leather armor dyed black, the man is young and athletic, with a short mop of raven hair. He fell against a pile of rubble then to the side. The cause of death is a bullet to the temple made by a small caliber, one of the many wounds on his person. I count 3 blade cuts and another 2 firearm shots besides the last. One that broke his left arm and another that grazed his flank. He went down fighting in a puddle of his own blood. When I see him, I feel an inexplicable sense of loss. I push the silly emotion away, but it slithers back into my mind and settles there, increasing my apprehension. Something happened here. Something bad. I need to understand. I notice that on top of an elaborate rapier, the fallen warrior also has a mage gauntlet of exquisite facture. A patch on his shoulder bears the stylized L that Lady Moore used as a seal for her important correspondence. A quick inspection reveals nothing else. No notebook, no convenient farewell letter. Frustrated, I close my eyes and open myself to other senses. The stench is nothing unusual. Blood. Sweat. Feces. Spent gunpowder. The night is as silent as it can be in the middle of summer. A pulse of magic comes from behind the man. At first it was so weak that I dismissed it as a remnant of the numerous spells cast here, but I should have known better. I should have recognized the cold aura. I do now. I pick the corpse under the arm and lightly lift it, before placing it carefully on his back. On a whim, I close the dark eyes one last time and position both hands on his chest. This simple gesture makes me feel better, and I now realize why. The man fought to the end, and with his dying breath, covered another body. A shock of red hair and pale arm dotted with freckles emerge from the rubble, previously hidden by the fallen warrior. Melusine, saved by the sacrifice of her vassal. I remove the heaviest logs of wood crushing her body, uncovering it. Her petite figure is covered by the female equivalent of the Lancaster leather armor. I pull a few sharp spikes from her body, flinging them away with droplets of black blood. It takes only a few moments for her regeneration to kick in, as the wounds were not too serious. A caving in her skull pops back with a nasty sound and she blinks awake. She takes a deep breath in and whines in a broken voice. Uncaring of her surroundings, she crawls on the ground, then on her knees towards the prone form. She keeps trying to breathe and say things, but only dry coughs emerge from her tortured throat. When she has reached her vassal, she sits on the side. With a shaky hand, she approaches a wound in his chest, then another, recoiling every time as if worried to hurt him. Her eyes finally find the hole in his head. The shaky hand collapses into a fist, with which she weakly hits his shoulder. Then, she pushes on the body and tries to make him move, show signs that there is still life. It takes a few seconds before she gives up. Her head dips until they touch forehead to forehead, and she wails. Her voice is weak and broken, so low that even Jimena should not be able to hear it. For a few minutes, she only cries, suffocates, then cries more. Her claws hold the fallen vassal's armor in a death grip. Eventually, she stops. When her face comes up, blood drips freely from her eyes and on the dead man. I understand yesterday's intuition. Forgiveness through shared loss. This is what this is about, and the true question. Can I forgive her for who she is and admit that we now share something in common? Is this it? Preposterous. Absolutely ridiculous. Should I forget my nature and who I am for a so-called better outcome? No. The very notion goes against all I have done, against everything I am. We Nirari do not forgive. We get even. No amount of pain and suffering will erase the debt, unless we inflict it ourselves. With that said, there are several ways to get even, and I do believe it is time for the smart one. As amusing as it is to see you crawl on the ground, I must interrupt you, I say. What do you want? She croaks without much conviction. For starters, tell me what happened here. What didn't happen by the eye, Arthur? I seize her neck between claws and press down in a gesture of domination that, with delicious irony, she taught me herself. She hisses but does not resist. What do you know? She asks, panting slightly from the pain and the loss of her bond. You came here with Harold, Wilburn and your vassal. You fought the White Cabal. Yes. They had prepared the terrain well. We pushed them all the way back to the pot workshop and they barricaded themselves inside after we destroyed the church. It was Arthur's idea to scorch it from afar, and it worked well. The holy ground was supposed to be their last redoubt. They did manage to kill Wilburn in a house. He disobeyed my orders. They lured him with a woman. That disgusting swine. Good riddance. Hold on, I add, why is Lady Moore not with you? A trick. To make it short, I was on the verge of having her recalled to Manchester on charges of embezzlement. It wasn't much, but it would have allowed me to take control of the local branch. The shrewd harpy must have guessed my intentions, because she captured and turned a talented White Cabal enforcer, only to send the rest of us to deal with the aftermath. She fled, didn't she? She did. Focus. How did the Cabal beat you? Do they have special weapons? Melusine scoffs, and sniffs, then unsuccessfully tries to wipe the blood from her cheeks. Stupid girl. Did I not tell you? We beat them, cut off their retreat. They found temporary refuge in the workshop. If they did not defeat you, then who did? Who killed Harold and your vassal? I ask with no small amount of curiosity. Instead of replying, Melusine points a blood-stained claw to the north, towards the road. A red light grows and grows there, increasing in intensity by the second. Soon, the sky is lit as if by a crimson dawn that does not reach the stars. The source comes into view. An army of torches lights the night with a vengeful radiance, some others move to the side and ignite the outer barricades, covered in cloth. From all around us, fires burn until the entire perimeter around the city is but one gigantic inferno, and from the north, the army of embers crests the edge of an incline, and its carriers come into view. At the forefront, sturdy men wield shields covered with crosses and silvery pikes, forming a wall. Behind, ranks upon ranks of musketeers in the uniform of the Order of Gabriel march forward. They are led by a man on a horse wielding a battle standard upon which a winged archangel slays a horde of demons with cleansing light. His voice rings true. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell. If he did not spare the ancient world when he brought the flood on its ungodly people, but allowed Noah to live, and 7 others, and rescued Lot from heathens. Then the Lord knows to rescue the godly from trial and to hold the unrighteous for punishment on the day of the judgment. And that day has come. Amen, 100 throats answer in unison. I turn back to Melusine's prostrate form, surprised that I managed not to gawk. That would be them, she says laconically. Well, shit. I cast a last glance at the army arrayed before us and return my attention to Melusine. I note in passing that she feels like a master now, though weakened as she is, it is hard to tell for sure. They trapped you too. Hard to believe, is it not? They managed to kill Harold. I heard his screams before part of the house decided to fall on me. How? How did it come to this? You are so young, still. You believe the order to be nothing more than a nuisance. They always manage to kill some of us every decade or so, back on the old continent. We cull them but they always come back. Always. What you see out there is the cream of the crop of this generation. They were probably after the cabal and caught us as well, and now, you. How can it be? How did they know we would be here? They were probably not expecting you. They pulled out recently after their assault on the workshop failed, probably to regroup before delivering the last blow. They took their dead with them. I imagine that they are delighted that their snare would catch yet another prey. As for knowing of your coming, you probably marched through the road like we did. It takes but one scout to warn them of our advance and they have plenty of people willing to take that role. Arrogance was my mistake. Carelessness. And now. Melusine takes a deep, shivering breath. I remember that it helps with the feeling of suffocation. For a while. She grabs her sternum and hisses softly, in pain. If we fight now, she will be mostly useless. If I let her live, that is. Whatever happened to Lambert? He was supposed to go after you. I press her neck until my talons draw blood. Her breath accelerates and she closes her eyes to deal with the pain. I ask the questions. Yes. Now we are in an interesting situation. I could kill you and the others who came with me would be none the wiser. Or, you can make it worth my while, and I could be convinced to make some efforts to ensure that you get through this ordeal in a form that doesn't fit in a funerary vase. I want vengeance. I don't want to die just yet. What did you have in mind? I had been thinking about something that would help me in the long run, and I believe I have just the thing. Melusine listens to my 3 conditions, even smiling cruelly at the end. Yes, I believe that would be adequate. And well deserved by all. Very well, I consent, and I have to admit, I expected you to demand something truly demeaning of me. We do not all enjoy seeing our opponents crawl at our feet like the miserable worms they are. She stares. All right, I do also enjoy seeing my opponents crawl at my feet like the miserable worms they are, but since you still have access to resources, and because you are one of the most devious, spiteful, and vindictive painted trollops I ever had the displeasure of coming across, I figured I would at least try not to give you undue causes for revenge. That's more like it. And don't you worry, you mongrel-born Nirari meathead. Among those I wish to flay alive, you do not even make the top 5. Excellent. With our truce firmly in place, I drag the filthy degenerate harlot up and we calmly make our way back to the knights. The first condition is that she will let me have her blood once she has recovered, something I need to demand a lot more often if I ever hope to get powerful enough to stand against the mightiest lords. The second is that she will help me in battle, once, in the moment of my choosing. The last is for the hearing to gain house status. I have no doubt that I will be acquitted, so I require no help for my trial as a rogue, but the hearing will take place just a bit later and Jimena made it clear, in no uncertain terms, that the Lancaster were a crafty lot. Even if they do not reclaim me, they could still demand compensation for my loss, and this is not something I want to waste time on. We cross the street at a sedate pace, not trying to hide. The workshop harboring the Cabal remnants is not in view anyway, while the Order troops have blocked the only path out of the fire, content to let us roast. There is barely any wind, so it should take some time for the flames to reach us, but the air is already heavy with smoke and, more unsettling, the smell of roasting meat. While we move, I think. We need a plan to get out. The Order blocks the only access, and they will shoot and pray away whoever gets close. Even the Knights would have difficulties breaking through that perfect setup. In fact, I believe Aisha will die if we try it. We need a way to cancel that advantage. Jimena jumps down as we pass by her tree. Her expression is somber and does not improve when she sees who I help limp along. Color me surprised. Did not expect me to make it, did you? Asks Melusine with a raspy voice. I expected you to survive the mages, but not my blood sister's wrath. Melusine's eyes widen. What Jimena just did was to freely acknowledge our bond. It is a mark of support despite the political cost of doing so, something that genuinely pleases me. Ah, Jimena. You are so stupid. In a cute way. We came to an agreement. I reassure her. Is that so? In any case, I have finished scouting the workshop, though obviously it matters little now. Does it? I wonder. It could work. For now, we should return to the others. Time is short. Yes, forget about dawn, we will be ash before 2 hours pass. Jimena and I drag the skank with us and find the squad where we left them. Anatole seems preoccupied, a sign of how serious the situation is. Ah, you are here at last. Who is this? He asks, pointing at the weakened vampire between us. A survivor, replies Jimena, from the Lancaster force. There are no others. Melusine does not object. She is staring in the distance, sometimes taking deep breaths. I see. I will save my questions for later, for now, we have an emergency. I hereby change the parameters of this mission. We shall break through the Order's army and retreat back to New Orleans, where we will find shelter for the day. So, how are you going to do that? I ask, curious. Anatole frowns, then remembers that my security is his responsibility and keeping me in the dark does not help. We have well-established strategies for assaulting well-entrenched Order troops. Let me guess, don't. If looks could kill, I would be lying on the floor right now. With a supreme effort, Anatole retains his self-control. Not all of us will turn tail at the first sign of danger, he retorts. When required, squads will attack using their speed and the terrain to force a reaction. Harrying them as they waste their bullets on our fleeting forms. So long as we are not cornered, victory can eventually be ours. Aisha will not make it. I may not either. So, a frontal assault is the plan? That sounds stupid. Unless you have a better idea, wench, we should go now while smoke offers us a measure of cover, Anatole replies with a voice dripping with contempt. I do, in fact, have a better idea. Everyone stops moving. No one does immobility quite like vampires, I think. Anyone entering now would have to take a moment to realize we are not statues. And what would that be? Asks Anatole with regret. Yes, imbecile, you should not have given me such an opening. A truce with the White Cabal. Melusine's breath hitches in her chest and I look towards her, but she does not even lift her head. I remember the horrible void I felt following Dalton's loss, and I only managed to assuage it by consuming the depleted essence of half a village, something that only devourers could manage. I will credit her for not whining. I suppose the strumpet has some spine after all, it is just a shame that it is not attached to a heart nor a brain. Anatole looks almost relieved. And here I thought you would surprise me. Enough of this, let's go. Hold. Anatole's eyes widen in shock as he realizes Aisha was the one to speak. Even Alec shows surprise on his bald rock of a face. It costs us little to try, she continues with a timid voice. I will not tolerate insubordination. I said, let's go. She's right, adds Alec. Oh, how I do so enjoy watching the squad leader squirm. A mutiny. How fun. Obstacles are tools, enemies are weapons, adds the grim axeman. It sounds like he is quoting something. Anatole appears to consider. We carry a lot of meaning through body gestures, when we want to. Alaric is currently neutral, but Aisha, Alec and Jimena all cross arms, which is a clear sign of disapproval. I remain neutral. I do not want to squander my chances of fulfilling a promise for the pleasure of needling that bastard. After a short consideration, he concedes. Very well, you may go and discuss terms with them, though Jimena will guarantee your safety. Keep in mind that every minute you waste, the fire spreads and our window of opportunity shortens. I nod and exit the room, Jimena in tow. To my surprise, Aisha comes after me. Wait. I have what you asked. What I asked? Oh. My weapons. Here you go, she announces with pride, and hands me my dagger. Dagger. Aisha, what about the rest? I only took your proper vampire blade. Not the rifle. You know, the thing that would have let me take pot shots at the order and snipe down their leaders. Thin their ranks. That rifle? But. Fat lots of good that toothpick is going to do, Proper vampire blade, she says. The audacity. I am sorry, does this mean? The proud knight looks completely dejected. Pa. Elite group indeed. It means nothing, I reply, I'll make do, as always. I turn around and my sister and I make our way to the fortified workshop. A dagger. I swear well, nothing to it. Time to implement the next phase of my plan and try diplomacy. First, I need information. What can you tell me about the Cabal's hideout? Everything is heavily warded except the walls, though it's mostly rushed work. The points of ingress are the windows, the office entrance, the wagon entrance and the cellar. The windows are shuttered and barred, and the office and wagon gates are both to the front of the workshop, so the approach has no cover. The cellar door is the most heavily fortified and it's made out of steel. There are no easy ways to get in and I suspect they may shoot you on sight. Any chance of them surviving the fire? None. Even if the workshop was not made out of wood, it is not the flame itself that kills mortals, but the smoke. They will suffocate long before their retreat is set ablaze. Show me the cellar. I might be able to get through. The workshop is rectangular. The cellar door is at the back, opposite the two other entrances. The approach is covered by stacks of crates and other sundries left in random piles. I suspect that the workers just dump whatever they are not using there. Their carelessness is a boon, as we make our way undetected. Jimena points to the gate, a double door made out of steel set almost horizontally against the wall. There is a thin line where it doesn't close exactly, and from it, I can hear moans of pain and low whispers. Under the smoke, I smell a bit of blood, both old and fresh. I understand now. They put the wounded below ground. They probably plan to escape from there if they get overrun. Fascinating but unhelpful. What do you plan on doing? I can feel the wards placed here. There is an alarm, but mostly they increase the durability of the base material. It would take a direct hit from a cannon to blast through the thing. There is, however, an obvious weakness. The space between the two doors is thin, but not thin enough that I cannot get my claws in. I bet that they forgot to reinforce the steel bar. Why, knock politely, of course. I grab below each pane, get down on my knees and with a grunt, channel both the Herald's power and my essence for an additional boost of strength. A month ago, I could not have easily bent steel by pulling on it. A month ago, I was not a master. With a terrible shriek of tortured metal, the way opens to stairs heading down. At their bottom, a man with his arm covered in bandages wakes up with a jolt and stares at me, uncomprehending. I calmly walk down while Jimena stays behind just in case. In short order, I find myself in a vast open room with a stone floor. A dozen people lie there and they are all wounded. Most are men, ranging from a grizzled veteran to a young and portly man with what I imagine is an attempt at growing a mustache. There are women as well. A grandmotherly one holding the stump of her hand, and a girl with curly black hair and a bump on her head the size of a quail egg. They all stare at me with expressions ranging from disbelief to plain horror. Only one person is standing, a young woman with liquid red eyes and white hair tucked firmly under a nurse hat. She slowly lifts a trembling hand clad with a mage gauntlet. Before things can devolve, I raise two hands to show that they are empty, a universal gesture of peace. Not that being unarmed makes us harmless. My name is Ariane. I wish to speak to your leaders and offer a truce. Nobody moves and I figure out why the nurse's eyes appeared liquid. Fat tears drip down her eyes as she opens her mouth. Bwahahaha. She starts bawling. Her face turns into a red mess with snot dripping down her nose. Her still raised hand wavers but she does not lower it. She just keeps crying like a fountain. It just doesn't stop. Most of the wounded are awake now, and look at each other and the crying nurse, at a loss. Still crying. It's a little bit awkward. The door opens and a mage walks down the stairs. Sola. Is something the matter? He freezes when he sees me. For Christ's sake, Jebediah, not you too. Go back up and fetch Jonathan and the dog. Ariane here wants to talk, says a grizzled veteran with an annoyed voice. Jebediah opens and closes his mouth a few times like a beached fish, then turns around and mechanically climbs back up. Moments later, clambering footsteps and yells of alarm ring throughout the building. The door from upstairs bursts open and two men come in. The first one is panting heavily and holding his gauntlet and a large cavalry saber. He wears a more elaborate version of everyone else's white uniform as well as a thunderous expression. With his long gray beard and serious figure, he looks like an old general in the midst of battle. The second figure is deeply calm and walks in without fear, though not carelessly either. His familiar dark eyes take in the situation in an instant. I will admit that I am surprised. I knew this man as Bradley when he tried to blow me up back in Marquette. He was with the Order then. How convenient for mortals, to be able to change their allegiances so. His heartbeat is the only steady one here. He must have guessed it was me from the name. There are so few of us, another vampiric Ariane would be extremely unlikely. Though, now that I think about it, if there is one I will have to find her and convince her that I am the Arianest of them all. The old man charges down the stairs like an enraged bull at the sight of the still sobbing nurse. I swear, if you hurt her, he starts. Threatening me? If I hurt her then what? I hiss softly, and completely release my aura. About half of the wounded are mages, and they shiver before the Arctic onslaught. Even the old man's steps falter. As quickly as I displayed it, I pull my presence back in until it is entirely subsumed within me. I made my point. The nurse collapses in a heap, and other wounded drag her out of the way. Weakling. No, she is a healer. They have their use and should be respected. I have come to discuss a truce and temporary alliance, I say. Why should I believe anything you would say, monster, replies their leader, still bristly despite my rebuke. You should, says Bradley. All attention turns to him. Normally, I am good at picking up leaders and influencers in a crowd, but in this case, Bradley's subdued presence misled me. The others look at him with respect, almost reverence. I did not anticipate that. Let us see if this can be leveraged. What do you mean, Jonathan? The old man asks. I met her before. She held her promise, despite our enmity. You faced a vampire in combat and lived, asks a young mage with admiration. I tried to trap her and failed. She captured me. At those words, everyone in the room stares with renewed fear and this time, respect. Apparently, piercing through their wards in seconds through guile and expertise doesn't count, but one word from this ruffian and I'm vetted? Typical. She let me go because I amused her. She kept her word. I believe we can trust her, he continues in his calm voice. I remember him sounding the same when we were negotiating. Does this man ever show any emotion? I do not know who I should pity the most, his foes or his lovers. The crowd nods and even the old man goes from fuming to contemplating in a heartbeat. Very well, I will hear your proposal. First, I offer a truce, between my faction and yours, for a week. Done. What's next? That went better than I expected. The next step should be easy then. I propose a temporary alliance, to face a common threat. An ally with your kind? Never, he spits with renewed anger. I jinxed it, didn't I? Hold on, says a female voice in the room, and silence is made. The person who talked is the old woman with a missing hand. She stands up from comforting the red-eyed nurse who she had been hugging. Her skin is pallid and there are deep pockets under her eyes, but her voice is firm and her expression, cold and resolute. Sigismund Abelard Coleridge, a word please. In private. The full name treatment. Somebody is in trouble. Is the timing well chosen, woman? Asks a noticeably nervous Sigismund Abelard Coleridge. Don't make me tell you twice. The gloves are off. The proud warrior leans towards his spouse and they confer in whispers. I can hear their conversation perfectly well. It is the age-old debate. On one side we have, can we trust them, and I wouldn't be caught dead working with vampires. On the other, we have, all those kids are going to die from your stubbornness you pig-headed fool, and one more hour and you'll be caught dead all right. We have no choice. I leave them to their arguments and return my attention to the former Gabrielite. Is Gabrielite even a word? Whatever, it is now. So, Bradley. I go by Jonathan now. In fact, that is my real name. It tastes like the truth. How queer. Could it be that he is more honest about his current alliance than the past one? How did you come to be a well-respected member of a mage group? They would certainly be looking at your past allegiances with distrust, I remark in a low voice, low enough that the crowd looking at me with a mix of wonder and fear lean towards us in an amusing attempt to eavesdrop. I told you I was tracking a group of evil magicers. I remember. I followed rumors and gruesome crimes to their hidden base. The White Cabal was investigating them too. That is how we made contact. I am surprised that you would willingly reveal yourself so. I did not. I took 2 of them for a scouting party and captured then interrogated them. They told me of their allegiance. I decided that we could benefit from working together. That could not have been more than a year ago. How come this dog believes you? The black dog is the head of the military in any White Cabal cell. Coleridge is in charge of this war party. He seems to hold you in high regard. When I joined, they thought slinging spells equaled fighting. I proved them wrong. They opened to non-mages and varied their training afterwards. And this is your doing? This assault on the Lancaster? Being trapped? Jonathan smiles so lightly that some would have missed it. His smile has a sad and fragile quality that makes me want to draw the ephemeral moment. I commit his face to memory, for later. If we make it. I recommend it against this assault. The leadership would not take the loss of Cyril without retaliation, however. I came because I knew I could save a few lives. An act of courage and sacrifice. How many of those ended up with more cattle for the clans, I wonder? Futile. Cyril must be the fledgling the maid mentioned. He is already changed and on his way to parts unknown, a member of Lady Moore's entourage. I understand their feelings all too well though. I would have done the same, had one of my people been taken. Before we can continue, the couple returns. The woman sits heavily, with a clear wince, while the black dog walks up to me. He is quite tall, and draws on his size and girth in what looks like an attempt at intimidation. I am not amused. Aggression. Dissuade or punish. The dog pales and takes a step back just as I realize I have been letting a low hiss and showing just a hint of fangs. Cease your pathetic attempts, old man, I have faced nightmares that would have swallowed you whole and lived to tell the tale. You are nothing, I growl. Sigismund dearie, if you could stop being a pig-headed ass for one goddamn minute, asks the old woman with a deceptively calm voice. The dog gives her a quick, angry glance, though he also calms down. Right. A few people snicker. I said, we have decided that we would entertain your proposal. Of an alliance. What did you have in mind? That was quick. First, I would like to ask, did you have any plan to get out of this situation? The old man immediately grows suspicious, but Jonathan replies with his usual calm. I gathered all our remaining black powder and made charges with the clay pots we found here. I was planning on detonating them on a hunter path to the south. Why? I ask with curiosity. It is not a well-known fact. Explosions will snuff out flames, though if there is fuel they will restart. I believe it would have been enough for some of us to pass through. I look around as I understand the implication. The path would be terribly hot and smoky. Those who managed to pass would have light burns and lung damage. The wounded would be left behind. Would they truly do this? I imagined the White Cabal to be suicidal idealists. They attacked a vampire city, after all. I never said it was a good plan, says Jonathan, amused at my lack of reaction. The others lower their eyes as the mood plummets. These people are desperate. My intrusion distracted them for only a few minutes before the thought of their imminent demise returned to haunt them. I should not have worried about this alliance. Their leader's defiance aside, they are ripe for the taking. I just need to give them hope and they will eat it from my hands. And I do believe I have just the idea. The powder charges are the last tools I needed for the plan I had been considering. I will offer an alternative. Our main problem is not the fire so much as the order troops. Dig in or escape by blowing up a path, the problem remains the same. The order is coming for you, and for us, and you will be too slow to escape their fury. If they are defeated, however, the road north will open and you can go home safely with your wounded. We know that, the dog snaps, it's just that a frontal assault would be stupid. Not if we use the right tools. Their advantages lie in the presence of a choke point, their ranged weapons and their tight formation. I have a way to neutralize or even turn those advantages against them. It will require my group and yours to work together. We will need. I expose my idea, and doubt is replaced by attention, then by a blooming excitement. Yes, this could work, their bright faces say. Jonathan assists by making adjustments and corrections, and even the old black dog offers a few pieces of advice based on his mage's abilities. We end up with a workable plan in less than 5 minutes. A miracle. Give me a moment while I tell everyone upstairs. Unless there are major objections, I will confirm the alliance and we will then implement the plan while you fetch your allies. Is that acceptable? Oh, he is trying diplomacy. How cute. I nod and he climbs back upstairs, casting fearful glances behind as if I would suddenly murder everyone around. Jonathan follows him without a word. I am left alone, standing in the middle of the room while a dozen people gawp at the vampire. I do not enjoy being the center of attention like this, not unless I am playing a role. To my surprise, the uncomfortable silence is broken by the nurse. I remember that her affliction is called albinism, and it makes her sensitive to sunlight. We have something in common, then. How could I not feel you? Your presence was hidden, she asks with a vaguely offended voice. She probably blames me for her public meltdown. Before I can think of a proper answer, I find myself misquoting Sinead. I am a master vampire, why would I have anything less than mastery over my own aura? The mood changes once more as morbid curiosity turns into fearful respect. It worked. It worked. O Sinead, master of half-truths and boisterous claims, I bow before thine expert windbaggery. Your pompous turn of phrase allowed me to awe those mortals. I shall never doubt thee again, great one. Properly chastised, the nurse seems to deflate. I am almost disappointed that her spine would disappear so quickly. It took great courage to face me, I say, remembering how she almost soiled herself and could do nothing but stand there and cry like a fountain. To protect your charge. I realize that I mean it. She is not a fighter, but a healer. She still stood there and faced her death head-on. Worthy prey. No, not prey. Remember, Ariane, no eating your allies. It's important. Thank you. What I meant was, you cannot tempt me, night creature. And there she goes and ruins it. Sola, help me up, the old woman intervenes with a tired voice. Are you sure? Asks one of the younger men, the warriors have not agreed yet. She shuts him up with one glance. Slowly, the wounded who can stand are helped up by comrades. Nurse Sola closes her eyes and a pulse of energy expands from her chest. The power spreads around the room harmlessly, and I now remember what is missing. Corruption. Anytime I walked around a field hospital, the stench of opened bowels and souring wounds would assault me. Not so now. It smells of fear, pain and blood, a scent that I am accustomed to. The rest is missing. Like I just did now. It would be mad to walk through a fire, leaving wounded behind in the vain hope to escape an order war party. The world has grown insane, therefore doing insane things is the path to salvation. I am no longer a fledgling harried by the thirst. I can establish working relationships with the powers that be, and they need not be vampires. I return my attention to the present when Jonathan pops his head from the upstairs door and addresses me. They agreed. Meet us in front of the workshop. So cavalier. Addendum 1 to the previous proposal, I shall establish working relationships with the powers that be and teach them proper manners. Being surrounded by a blazing fire and outnumbered by fanatics sworn to your destruction is no cause for such wanton vulgarity. Pah! Miffed, I exit the building from whence I came and meet with Jimena. She throws me a questioning glance. What is the matter, sister, did they not agree? Oh, they did, they were just not very respectful about it. Oh sister, you did not get your fill of groveling servants. Allow me to assist. She stoops and scurry at my feet with a false limp. O Mithtreth, thine genius is unmathed, thine intellect shineth like a beacon. Allow me to polish thine toes with mine unworthy spittle. I'll tell Ainsa where you got the soldier fetish from. Ack. We stand in the corridor to hell. Red flames and smoldering husks make up the world and a black cloud masks the heaven. The fire flickers and casts dancing shadows that turn into mocking demons when I am not looking. Suffocating smoke stings my eyes and unbreathing lungs like acid, and this is not the worst. The only egress is forward, through disciplined ranks of well-trained, well-equipped, and dug-in vampire killers, and this is not the worst either. No, the worst is the heat, a physical wall that crushes my mind and body like a cover of lead. It wipes my mind and bends me with its domineering presence. It tells me that I do not belong in this world, that I need to be purged. It tells me that my clock is ticking and sooner or later, it will get me. The heat will consume me and only ash will be left behind. To move is torture, to stand is agony, and yet I trudge forward. No sweat can protect me from the inferno's rage. Even paces away and through my cover, it still sends embers to kiss my bare skin, blackening it like paper. The dark voice in my mind screams and harries me. It wants me to run, to find the darkness and cold that will welcome me in its blessed embrace, yet I endure. I must. Ping. A silver bullet hits the warded door, causing a small vibration to travel up my arm. For one instant, I falter and the improvised shield drops a bit. Hide. With a hiss, I bring it back up. Hold, the order commander screams, and no other shots are fired. Even with my senses, I can barely hear him over the roar of the fire, the creaks and groans of the dying homes. We move forward. I am at the head of the formation, with Jimena and the A squad's brawn by my side. They hold torn-off doors and plates facing forward, like Roman legionaries of yore. The weight of those covers is beyond mortal ability to carry, and this is where we come in. Our steps are slow and measured to prevent gaps from appearing in the improvised wall. Behind us and to the sides, carriages loaded with wounded and covered with tarp protect the flank from the implacable heat. Behind us, mages walk low. Their faces are covered in wet rags and they stay close to the ground with tears dripping down their abused eyes. I must have been insane to propose this. Perhaps I should have listened to Anatole when he announced he was not a glorified shield-bearer for a sorry mass of uppity maglings. Ah, who am I kidding? The knights would have suffered the most. This heat is too much, even for them. It assaults my mind with the urgency of my situation, of how I am fighting my own nature. No training will ever allow me to face this without dread. Steady now, Jonathan says with a hoarse voice. His voice drags me back away from the panic. I focus on putting one step in front of the other. Fire. I know, shut up. 50 paces. We walk along at a steady rhythm. We had no time to rehearse, and we will have no second chances. I lost track of where we are. I dare not check through gaps to see our progress, lest the wall be disrupted. I can only stare at my boots and take another step forward, and another. My entire existence is reduced to that, and biting down whenever an errant flake adds yet another small burn to my growing collection. One step, silence my screaming instincts, another step, keep going. It goes on and on. It never ends. It never stops. My arms hurt. Halt. I almost missed the signal and need to take my foot back. There are sounds from around us. The order has broken formation. I put the shield down, in case some order bastards decide to shoot my toes off. I bend and look through the hole where the handle used to be. A few outliers wearing heavy coats are trying to flank us. With their back to the flames, they slink at the edges. They are trying to enfilade us. Shields take a step forward, mages at the ready, says Jonathan in a calm voice. The first flanker finds a gap and lines up a shot. Firebolt, someone roars, and the Gabrielite is skewered. A few others rush to the side and take potshots, but most of them are lost against the sides of the carriage. The order's formation is working against them. The flankers have to move out of cover to get in position while our mages can fire safely and, more importantly, en masse. The order commander realizes it and rescinds his order. Back, tighten formation. This is it. Shields up, forward, says Jonathan firmly. I realize that the temperature is dropping. We are doing it, we are leaving the fire behind. And now, in front of me are those responsible. Ah, yes. Soon. Very soon. Stop. We are so close. I can hear the Gabrielites' heartbeats, their controlled breath and the horrid prayers they mutter to themselves. They have spears and we don't. They have powder and we don't. Their shields will stop our spells. We have to charge through, and when we drop our shields to do so, they will unleash a barrage that will mow us like wheat. Or so they think. Now Labem, screams Jonathan, and a dozen improvised powder charges arc over our heads to fall among them. Cries of dismay echo as some foes run, pushing others away and disrupting formation. A few pick up the heavy clay pots hoping to send them back, in vain. Jonathan is a master artificer and his fuses are perfect. The homemade grenades explode. Blood mist erupts in the enemy ranks as limbs and innards rain around. Their discipline is momentarily weakened by the incredible shock. Now, charge, bellows Jonathan. Finally. I raised the door with a roar of fury and tossed the heavy metal and wood protection in the face of a very surprised enemy shield bearer. The heavy piece of hardware smashes into 3 men and squishes them like bugs. All around me, projectiles start flying into the surprised mass of the Order. It is as I expected, they do not know how to face a combined force of mages and vampires. I rush forward and soon, there is no more room for deep thought. I kill. Slice up and down, slide under a man to avoid a shot, steal a pistol. Get pushed back by faith, slash a heel on my way down, get a man on my way up. Throw the body on my foes, shoot a man yelling orders, stab and maim and roar and bite. You wanted me, I am here. My essence sings as the air overloads with the smell of death and blood, the din of battle and the screams of men and women in a fight to the death. They do not break, they do not flee. They stand and fight. They rally and regroup. We are not facing bandits but dedicated and well-trained groups. Worthy foes. Pain in my flank. An errant bullet found me. I steal more guns from standing men and corpses. Slay the leaders, claim their heads. The other knights are zipping across the battlefield. They disrupt formations and force the Gabrielites to react or to die, while the mages and soldiers of the White Cabal rush forward. Behind them, some of the wounded stand up from their carriage to shoot spells at targets of opportunity. It is not enough. Here and there, our mortal allies fall to bullets, blades and spears. As I watch, the old woman with a missing hand moves in front of the nurse. Her chest explodes in a red mist and she falls, face twisted in pain. Aisha has an arm missing. Alec is spilling black blood with every movement, his stature making him a target through sheer size. And I realize what is wrong. Alaric, Anatole, Jimena and even a weakened Melusine are at the edge of the battle on the other side, fighting defensively while Alec and Aisha, though bogged down, slowly make their way to them. The vampires are not fighting to win, they are fighting to escape, and they are right. This is the smart thing to do. Our alliance is not formal, we are fighting the same foes and that is all. We never said we would stay. I lose my focus for one instant and am rewarded with a bullet punching through my shoulder. HSSS, hurts, damn it. I can't. I don't know what to do. Aisha pulls through with Jimena's help but as I watch, Alec finally takes a bullet to the back of the head and falls forward. He is immediately surrounded by shield bearers while a man takes out a silver spike. Not happening. I move forward and grab a dead Gabrielite with a loaded pistol. I channel the Natalie's and werewolf essence as strongly as I can and throw the corpse. Prayers are not enough to stop their dead comrades and the line collapses backward. I aim and shoot the would-be slayer through a gap in their defense. Anatole is there in an instant. He takes Alec by the foot and extracts the heavy-set man as if he weighed nothing. I follow. The world cools down and darkens. The vampires made it out, even Aisha. The Cabal is bleeding and dying behind us. I stop. The bullet in my flank exits from the wound to be replaced by unmarred skin, a benefit of masterhood. I am still fully capable. I could still fight but I need not to. It is done. I have accomplished what I set out to do. All those I wanted to rescue made it out and the rest are but small fry. I can go now, leave the fire behind and rest in the gold-leafed and Baroque buildings we call our own, and yet, I will not. This is wrong. My instincts are telling me this. Those are allies I left behind. I obeyed only the letter of the agreement, not the spirit. Those mortals by our side displayed bravery and gallantry in the face of certain demise. They are worthy. They are. They are mine. After a fashion. And the day has not come that I will give up what is mine to those bigoted pricks. I turn around and face the world painted red, and for the first time since the beginning of this battle, my instincts and mind align. This will be dangerous, yes, but also exciting. I will face this horror and I will defeat it. My essence sings and my heart pulses once. I feel a hum of approval from the watcher. It likes it, I think, when I do what I live for no matter the cost. I know what to do now. I whistle and from behind, the heavy stomp of dark hooves sound like war drums. The other vampires stop and watch with blank masks as I stand aside and grab the harness as she goes. A true Bond nightmare, Aisha whispers in awe. Yes. Go Métis, go. For blood, freedom and gunpowder. I lean to the side and pick up a spear as we approach the melee again. The largest bulk of the order has rallied around their leader, a tall man bearing a battle standard. Perfect. A few heads turn when they hear the nightmare charging at their back, a few pray or scream to alert their friends, in vain. The leader turns, sees me. He turns across around. I roar. I throw the spear like a javelin. The projectile goes through his chest without slowing, then through the back of men facing the mages. Then Métis finishes her charge in their packed ranks. Physics plays its merciless role when the heavy steed's body impacts that of the squishy mortals. The back rank flies like pinwheels. Yes, we are where we belong. Métis stops in the middle and, essentially, unleashes her bad temper. She raises her front legs and shortens whoever she lands on. Her back hooves dent shields and skulls as she kicks, and with each bite, she steals ears and noses. I am not idle either. I pick up a spear and protect her flanks, but soon our predicament becomes clear when the poor girl neighs in pain. Someone shot her. You dare. I hiss and turn. A few musketeers have created distance and are already lining shots. I can't reach them. I will be too late. Then their heads start to fall. Jimena is here, picking those out of positions with ease. Come on men, one last push, screams Jonathan from the other side. And then, what I never expected happens. Fall back, a Gabrielite yells with authority, fall back. His men all pick up shields as they can and stop shooting. They grab their wounded and slowly retreat in a defensive formation, looking like a large turtle. I use the distraction to get back to the Cabal ranks. I stand down and check Métis' health. As I watch, a slash on her chest slowly closes. She will heal. I sigh as fear leaves me. This was too dangerous. She could have died. Is it wise for me to bring her in fights like that, where bullets fly while she does not have my speed? There is only one reasonable solution. I need to get her a full plate barding, Verger made, because I am not giving up on riding her into battle, and I suspect that neither will she. Silence descends upon the field as the Cabal combatants lower their weapons and look around with disbelief. The battle is over. The night is ours, but no cries of victory sound through the night. There are only stares of disbelief and cries of relief. Only 15 Cabal orders are still standing from a group that must have been around 52 days ago. Many of the wounded will recover, yet they have still lost almost half their numbers. A terrible blow. I feel little pity for them. They were fools to attack to begin with. If Jonathan had not been here, none of them would have returned. I climb back on top of Métis and turn her around. Reddened eyes filled with grief follow us. I glance one last time at the old dog, holding the body of his dead wife. I care not, my task is done. Our bargain is fulfilled, I say, and ride out into the night. We make our way to New Orleans without incident. I remove a silver bullet from Métis' flank, though she did not appear to be bothered, after which she trots off while munching on an arm. Jimena informs me that only a nightmare and vampire with a true bond could call on each other like that, and that I must have been an exceptionally talented and domineering owner for her to be so subservient. When I inform my sister that Métis is anything but subservient and that the haughty, overgrown pony has a tendency to wander off when she feels like it, I am faced with a complicated expression. Somehow, I am not surprised, she declares after a while. Whatever that means. We take shelter for the day inside of the building that had hosted my fateful duel against Jimena. I learn that it acts as a sort of embassy, inn and government office rolled in one for the local vampires and their visitors. There, the knights relay the situation to a representative of the Roland and Econ clans who quickly dispatch mercenaries to the location of the fight. When they arrive, both the White Cabal and the Order are long gone. A night later, we take a ship to Boston with Melusine, who is to be interrogated about the whole disaster and her role in it. We settle in another boat ride which leads to yet another case of boredom. There is only so much coast I can watch before it becomes tedious. I occupy my time by drawing some of the things I saw, like Jonathan's half-smile, the old woman sacrificing her life to save Sola, the albino nurse herself facing me despite her fear but before too much snot drips down her nose, etc. Anatole stops harassing me and I get to practice guessing cards with Aisha's help, something she assures me I am moderately talented at. In addition, I exchange a few words with Melusine on occasion. Our conversations are usually like this. "Oh, Ariane, I thought it smelled like sweat, mud and sugar cane around here. Is that you, Melusine? I thought it was someone important." And so on. I am so beyond ennui that I wouldn't mind a pirate attack. I would scream the random words that Dalton taught me and have somebody, anybody really, walk the plank afterward. Alas, the days of the dread pirate Ariane have not come yet. I pester a sailor until he informs me that we sail at a speed of 7 knots, then pester him further to learn that it is equivalent to 8 miles per hour, which is apparently really good, for a sailboat. After a week of travel and at sundown, we come in view of Boston Harbor. The sea is covered in ships, warships, steamers and rowboats of all sizes. White sails and dark hulls contrast with the muddy green of the ocean. The flurry of activity does not stop, even at this late hour. We pass a few islands before our destination comes into view. An elevated landmass covered in buildings sits here, surrounded by waterways. Water on the other side as well, an old sailor comments laconically. Rows upon rows of warehouses and factories start from the shore and continue out of view. The uniform mass of their dark roofs is broken here and there by the spire of a church, or by the white columns of official buildings. Columns of smoke rise into the night air like so many snakes, and the air is charged with the perfume of brine and burnt sugar under the overwhelming stench of raw sewage. I scrunch my nose with distaste. It doesn't take us long to moor at a pier where several carriages drawn by lesser nightmares await us. We disembark and climb in without a word, and mortals soon lead us through the city. I look out the window as we pass by. I have never been to the original colonies, so this is quite exciting. We pass endless rows of factories, herds of animals led through the street, and a few markets smelling of meat, rum, and tobacco. The population here is so white, compared to New Orleans. And the richer denizens sound weird, with an accent I have never heard before. I drink the sights until finally, we reach the southern part of the city and nature makes a reappearance. I return my attention to the interior of the ride. Jimena, Anatole and Melusine ride with me. I cross eyes with the red-haired harpy. She smiles lightly and her lips spell the word bumpkin. Perhaps I should look outside more, it wouldn't do to slay her while she can still be of use. Cut stone and painted wood gives way to maple and birch as we ride south. After a few more minutes, we follow deserted trails until we enter a forest of tall pine trees. The scent of their sap and dried needles soothes my increasingly nervous mind, until we leave their cover behind. The path we follow leaves the forest behind and descends into a small expanse of flatland covered in vegetation. There, hidden from view, greenhouses and patches of greenery alternate with small homes lit by lanterns, with a few larger barns casting darker shadows. On the sides, the land falls abruptly into the sea so that an intimate valley is formed. In front of us and after the flatlands, a large mound of sheer cliff dominates the landscape, with the road dug into its stony flanks. Light shines from its summit and I can already see the edge of a slated roof. The carriages do not stop, and we slowly make our way up, past 2 security checks whose guards wave us forward. Soon, we reach the top and a manor comes into full view. We first travel through a last gate and a garden designed to look natural. Rows of trees block the wind and create hidden paths where revelers would have the illusion of intimacy. Behind that, the road ends at the foot of a majestic U-shaped edifice with the main body parallel to the sea. Its walls are of pink sandstone with only light decorations. 3 wings, each more than 60 yards long, shelter in their embrace a French-style garden centered around a fountain. A straight path leads from the entrance to a monumental set of stairs decorated on each side by columns separating the garden proper from a covered promenade. French windows on the left give me glimpses of a ballroom that could easily fit 100, and the entire second floor is adorned by one uninterrupted balcony. I can tell that there is a 3rd floor and attic, and I expect that as in most vampire strongholds, a significant part of the structure will be buried. The most striking thing is not the architecture, however, but the vampires. A dozen of them cross the garden at a sedate pace and lean from the balconies in small groups of 2 to 3. They affect indifference, but I can feel the weight of their attention on us. Their auras are deployed yet peaceful, and I can tell that most of them are masters with at least one lord thrown in. Jimena exits first and takes my side as I follow. We walk in behind Anatole, and I thank Sinead's harsh training for without which my aura would have betrayed my stress. Instead of a standard hall, the entrance leads to a lobby with the opposite windows offering a view of the sea and beyond that, the mainland. Tables and couches set on thick rugs form a harmonious rest area around a hearth in which a fire burns quietly. Light is provided by multiple candles though it remains subdued. On each table, pots filled with dried flowers and herbs perfume the air. It is not enough to mask the cold spice I associate with vampires. The air is heavy with it, both a welcome and a warning. A man stands in front of a front desk with his hand folded against his back. He wears an elaborate black suit with a bow tie that would look like a butler uniform were it not for the jacket being slightly too long and suspiciously heavy. Despite his obvious role as the welcome party, I find myself intimidated. His aura is powerful, probably more powerful than Moore's, and it has a wild quality to it that reminds me of werewolf. His eyes are so dark that I cannot tell the iris from the pupil, and he wears his long sandy-colored hair tied in a tail, as well as a short and well-trimmed beard of the same color. His face has a ruddy quality, as if he had been an outdoorsman before being turned. From his expression, I can tell that he is not pleased. The speaker expects you in the courtroom, he starts with a deep voice, immediately. His tone makes it clear that this wasn't a suggestion. We turn left into a soberly decorated corridor, and then right into an antechamber. There are no windows here, only an empty desk and a few chairs. A single large door leads further in, and on each side stands a sentinel. And here the veneer of civilization falls off and the iron fist beneath the velvet glove is revealed. The pair are a battle lord and lady without a doubt. They held pole weapons the color of the void and were clad in a twin set of Dvergr-made enchanted armor that would cause Loth to whistle in admiration. I realize that there is enough might in this room to depopulate a small city and repress a shiver. The sheer pressure of so many crushing auras in such an enclosed space strikes me with a claustrophobia that has nothing to do with the lack of exits. Despite their fearful appearance, they open the door in silence and let us through without pause. This is it. This is where my fate will soon be decided. Jimena takes my hand for a fraction of a second and releases it, for which I am grateful. I let go of a breath that I had been holding since the garden. I take a second to inspect my surroundings. The room is split in two in its middle with rows of seats on each side. The top rows have unadorned desks with partitions allowing privacy. They lead to an elevated area with a tall desk which I remember is called the bench. I can see 3 highly decorative seats to the left and a door to the right leading to parts unknown. Large windows set high into the wall only show the night sky. The room is empty. Our advance grinds to a stop and I expect the others to be at a loss. I am quickly proven wrong, as Jimena leads me to the left front seat while Anatole and his squad sit on the right. Jimena proudly takes her place by my side and I hear a single click when Anatole's jaws lock together. We wait for only 1 minute before the right door bangs open and a man in a dark magistrate robe steps in. I don't know what I expected from Constantine, but whatever it was, I am not disappointed. North America's only progenitor is very tall, but also quite thin. He has a hooked nose and sensual lips as well as large chestnut-colored eyes. His hair is dark and cut very close. His face's strange features would be ugly on anybody else, but on him the arrangement is eye-catching and magnetically attractive. His eyes immediately fall on me and I feel a pressing weight settling on my shoulders for a moment before he turns his attention to Anatole with obvious displeasure. His voice is a soft baritone that would be more fitting in a lecture hall, but right now, it is dripping with sarcasm and disappointment. "So, this is the rabid rogue you spent so much time and resources tracking down, Anatole. The bloodthirsty and barely coherent monster you promised. Please, Your Excellence, do not let yourself be fooled by." My eyes widen in surprise. Seriously? That little, pathetic, ungrateful prick. We fought together. Her meek appearance, she. Silence. Constantine says a single word, and his aura bursts out. Power. Unbridled. I gasp in surprise and pain, and even Jimena winces before the merciless display. My neck bends forward under the ominous pressure and I fight to remain upright. This is the power of a progenitor. And he is the youngest of them. By the Watcher, Semiramis was right. I have never witnessed my sire take anything seriously. Answer my question carefully, Anatole. Is she a rogue? The abominable wanker licks his lips with nervousness. How I wish I could kill him for the sheer audacity. Perhaps not, he replies, but I have proof that. This trial is to decide the rogue status of a young and isolated vampire who thoroughly outplayed you, using loopholes in my carefully constructed laws to make a technically correct claim. I think the verdict is clear. Yes, but you have another litany of charges to submit against her, wasting countless more hours of my valuable time, yes? Excellence, I assure you that she has shown signs of working for unidentified forces. Those earrings, for example, could never have been made by a savage as she claimed. I have had enough of you and of this whole farce. Ariane of the Nerari will be thoroughly interrogated to determine if she presents an active danger to the Accords. I feel shock overcoming me. Don't I have a say in that? Jimena mirrors my expression of dismay. Yes, Excellence, answers Anatole with a dangerous glint. Oh no, please no. Not by you of course, by Ignace. If declared innocent, she will be cleared of any and all charges from her rebirth until now, and her petition for house status will proceed immediately. Anatole scowls. Though he wisely decides to remain silent. In addition, Anatole, you will be stripped from your position. You could hear a pin drop 3 rooms over. You do not have the authority to have me removed, he slowly enunciates. Instead of exploding, Constantine raises an aristocratic brow. Let me clarify. You will be banished from North America on pain of death. If this occurs, the Knights will have little choice but to have you replaced, won't they? Both Jimena and Anatole stand up in protest after he is done, but the speaker's voice covers them all. Enough. It is done. Take her away. The 2 sentinels grab me by the shoulders, and despite my hiss, take me away with ease. I do my best to calm down as they drag me down several steps of stairs until the coziness of the manor gives way to bedrock in dark granite. It should be all right. I can answer truthfully to any question they have, except perhaps on Semiramis by the Watcher. I hope it will not count against me. It shouldn't. I have done nothing to harm the Accords. Yes, if anything, I have been quiet and cautious. I think it will be fine. I will be fine. The pair opens a heavily reinforced door at the end of the corridor and we enter a square room dug directly into the stone. A chair of dark iron. Heavy restraints. Pliers, pincers, a bracero. A painfully thin man with his chest bare turns as we come in. His face is dour and his dull brown eyes are lifeless. Good evening, I am Ignace. Should we begin? No. Ah, the issue with oaths is an intriguing one. Our minds are still surprisingly human, we are not automatons who consider all possibilities after all, yes. Sometimes, oaths may contradict each other. Take the case of a loyal knight who swore to protect king and country. What happens if he realizes that the king is insane? Would it be better to revolt to protect the country despite the destruction it would cause, or fight to defend the king? An intriguing situation, is it not? In our case, it will cost us, but we will decide or realize which oath is the most important. And so, some people could swear to withhold information before being questioned and thus be shielded from confession. That is why we should proceed this way. In the end, I will break you and learn all there is to know, and then, eventually, you will make a full recovery. Begging is useless. Bargaining is useless. It is but one hurdle to pass, but pass it you will. I am good at what I do. I worked on some of your siblings, you know. They were always too far gone for us to learn anything worthwhile. It is such an unexpected pleasure to cooperate with you. Oh, but this is a cooperation. I shall teach you much while we make our path together. For example, you care too much about your body's integrity and nudity. You are no longer a mortal, yes. Your body will always recover from harm. It is just a vessel. Losing an arm is a hindrance, not a life sentence. Losing your eyes just means you need to rely on other senses while they regrow. Speaking of which, the most sensitive parts of the human body are the hands, the face and to some extent, the genitals. Vampires are especially sensitive to losing fangs. You can still feed properly even if you are missing some of them. Remember, they will grow back. Now, drink. To grow back selective parts more quickly, you need to focus your essence on the wound. You will know it works when the severed limb turns to ash. Try again. Faster, this time. Tell me of your path up till now. You were a city master, yes. Quite the smart little trickster you are. It will be a pleasure to see you grow. The master learnt that she could see into the future. A seer HM. You do not have the contemplative personality to make full use of it, but I am sure the intuition that will result from this practice will be of use to a warrior such as you. The courtier drank the royal blood and became master. She slew the enforcer from the enemy clan. You treat the Fae as a faction. Oh, this is so very precious. You are an interesting one, Ariane of the Nirari. I have not been this pleasantly surprised in a long time. Rest assured that this tale is safe with me. The sun will grow cold before I break the secrecy of the confession. It is, after all, my most precious oath. The courtier followed the beacon. I would rather not hear this story. I know of whom you speak and would prefer not to attract her attention. The courtier ruled over Marquette. An interesting mix of mask and Eneru doctrines. You will undoubtedly fit well with either group when the time comes for you to visit our birthplace. The courtier tracked the key and faced the herald. Magnificent. And to lose such an excellent vassal and carry on. You are a wonder. Those alliances you made will serve you well. Very few of us attract the favor of the Rosenthal, not to mention a major dwarf clan. The courtier lived and fought alongside Loth and for a time, the human Bingle as well. There are forces at work that operate on a different level than us. It is unusual for any of them to be so heavy-handed. I wish I could have witnessed it. The fledgling ran through the wilderness. You did extremely well. Most fleeing fledglings are quickly caught by simply following the trail of bodies. It takes cunning and caution to survive on the run. The fledglings served the Lancaster as their ward and their slave. It is not unusual for covens to pick up errant fledglings and courtiers from other clans. The way you were treated is an anomaly, however. Only the arrogant and foolish sharpen the blade that will be used against them. The fledgling struggled to remain herself after waking up. A most difficult situation. I understand that most masters carefully select and nurture those they will sire over a long period of time. It has been so for the past half a millennium. The girl. Go on. She. I said, go on. Third night. The Na-Vi girl swallows air in big dry gulps between two cracked lips. Her body is but one large sore covered in scabs from which blood slowly seeps. Broken bones and failing organs. She is dying and knows it. She wants the embrace of death, to just make it stop. It will not come. Something dark is eating her from the inside, keeping the Reaper at bay. It should not be. Her feverish thoughts are muddied. Demons crawl from the walls and from under the cot she was dumped on to scratch at her mangled flesh, to gnaw on her shattered digits. Please, just let it end. Please. Heavy footsteps. The monster is coming back. She tries to scream. Only a broken rattle escapes from her tortured throat. He bites her again. He forces her to drink the black thing. It is even more delicious than yesterday, and the pain of drinking it, the feeling of violation, is even more. Her heart stops beating. Her lungs give up. Her last vision was that of the amused monster and a corner of dirty ceiling. Go on. Second night. The Na-Vi girl wakes up with a jolt. She fell asleep in the hospital bed. This is not the hospital bed. He took her back. She panics. Then, she calms down a bit, regains control. She is hurt. Soiled. Not broken. Not yet. She slowly sits back up. The claw marks on her stomach make her moan, but she endures. She makes herself fall from the bed and gasps in agony. It takes her a minute just to stop shaking. One of her arms is broken. The left one. There is just an ocean of pain between her legs. She is in a cellar, somewhere. The door is open. She sees it by the light of a lantern. It is still day. She doesn't know how she knows it. She knows she must escape. She crawls forward. Drags herself with one hand. With each movement, the wounds around and in her core reopen. Tears fall down her eyes, but she bites down and endures. Little by little, she goes on. She passes the door. On her left, a man with dark curly hair and a muscular back sits at a desk. She freezes. He finishes writing, then turns around with a smile. He says something in a language she does not understand. She screams when he picks her up, when he breaks the fingers of her right hand. He bites her neck. He forces her to drink something. It is intoxicating, the most exquisite thing in the world, but it burns everything on its way down. The pain and violation defy description, but she cannot stop. The pain makes her consciousness shatter. Go on. First night. The Na-Vi girl and her friend Constanza flit from group to group in the prestigious New Orleans venue. The reception room itself is larger than any place they have ever been in, including the church. Smartly dressed waiters circle around richly dressed revelers, offering bubbly flutes and appetizers. The two friends have a lot of fun. They are newcomers, and the novelty of their presence as well as their pleasant appearance made them the center of attention for the young male gentry. They bask in the glow of their attention and enjoy their first outing in the big city thoroughly. The Na.V girl is not interested in the men her age. They speak of parties and events and gossip about childish things. She wants someone who speaks of economics and politics, who understands market trends and treats her like more than just a pretty thing. The Na.V girl has projects aplenty. She also had 2 cups of champagne. One man attracts her the most. He is slightly older but not by much. He is mostly silent, as if bored, yet his eyes drift around the room, seeing everything and nothing at once. She is intrigued. She should have asked to be introduced, as is proper, but she is tipsy. Her face is flushed and her heart full of bravery, so she will display a little bit of daring-do. At first, the man seems cold, but after she has talked for a minute or so, he asks questions. She tells him everything. She speaks of producing rum and the infrastructure and funds needed. She speaks of investment, of distribution networks. She speaks of the home she wants for herself and even what kind of husband she wants. She doesn't stop speaking. He is a good listener. He knows exactly when to needle her on and when to focus her when she loses track. She feels like she has known him forever. She feels like he could be the one. She asks for his name, and if they could meet again. She wants to lick her lips and trail her hand against his broad chest, to feel it against her own. Constanza comes and bids them to go, as it is quite late. She agrees. She wants to meet the man again, later. The 2 friends leave. The Na.V girl giggles as she speaks of him. Constanza teases the Na.V girl. They walk to the inn where they stay and where they left their chaperone deep in his drinks. They pass next to an alley when it happens. A monster grabs the Na.V girl. Her friend screams and threatens. The monster smiles. It claws the face of Constanza. The girl falls, cradling her head. Red blood drips from it in great gouts. They scream. The monster takes the Na.V girl. He jumps from roof to roof. He lands near a deserted lumber mill. She tries to flee. He snaps her left leg. She falls and sobs. She fights, still. Do not need this arm anymore. A snapping sound. The Na.V girl howls. The monster shreds her dress. The Na.V girl fights the pain more than the man. The Na.V girl cannot believe this is happening. The Na.V girl sees herself as if she were outside of her own body. The monster moves between her legs. The monster defile her. The monster bites her neck. The monster holds his own arm up. It stops moving. The monster slashes its wrist. It forces thick blood as dark as a winter night between her moaning lips. The naive girl drinks. The blood tastes divine. It ravages her insides. It is an indescribable experience. The monster takes the Na.V girl in his arms. In the now, a door bangs open. A human girl charges in. She is a servant, with a hawkish nose and sensual lips. Ignace, you hijo de puta. Melatonin. You may not enter here, I have your master's permission for this. Mierda, Ariane, the vampire whispers. I still have much to ask. Bullshit. She was talking to you about her change at the hands of that old beast. You can easily tell if she did anything to harm the Accords. Did she? No. Very well, I suppose I know enough. Hurry. The manacles are removed just as the naive girl regenerates digits 3 and 7. She grabs her own fingers and pulls on them, one by one. They were no longer mangled and out of position anyway, but it feels good to do so. The vampire and the servant help the Na.V girl take out the silver spikes in her body. The Na.V girl removes the ones inside her nose first, then from her face and then from the rest of her body. The Na.V girl has no more spikes. The female vampire smells good, like family. Right, let's get you dressed. Slowly. The female vampire helps the Na.V girl into a large tunic that falls to her knees. The fabric is very soft. It feels good. Like when the silver spikes are removed from her teeth. The two take the Na.V girl and guide her. They touch her but it is fine. The vampire is sister. The human is a servant. Up they go. They come across a lord in a black ensemble. He has sandy hair and a beard. I see you found your solution, Jimena, the lord says. She is very angry. They climb more stairs. Up they go. They arrive in front of two large doors, with a battle lord and a battle lady on each side. The servant walks in unopposed. The Na.V girl is dragged in too. They are in a pretty office. There are many books and precious things. A man stands behind a massive desk. He is more powerful than a lord. He, too, has a hawkish nose and large lips. The servant screams at him in a strange language she never heard before. She is very angry. She is angry for a long time. The man tries to interrupt but she keeps screaming. The man stands up and approaches them. Listen Mel, I had to be sure. The girl screams some more. She will be fine. She is a master, they always recover. Look, she is already. The man crashes against the desk, then on the ground with a trail of dark blood dripping from his flattened nose. The Na.V girl looks at her fist, still in the air. Nobody moves, they just stare, astonished. Asshole. Asshole, she repeats. Asshole, 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 I say. I jump on him. I punch him more. Asshole, asshole, asshole. Calm down, by the eye, not you too, the man protests while doing his best to fend me off. I am very fast and still manage to land a blow in his kidneys. Oof. Enough of this. Promethean, Constantine says. His aura flares, thick binding chains emerge from his hands and capture me with blinding speed. I call the power of the herald but I am weak, it is sluggish and does not even manage to crack one link. I fight against the restraints, with no result. And you too, are you not my bodyguards? The speaker asks. We are not to interfere in arguments with your servant. You were quite clear, the male lord answers coldly. In vampire terms, this is a scathing rebuke. The room falls silent, except for me. I am still fighting the bindings. I suppose I was hasty. There isn't anyone I would trust with this responsibility. The progenitor clenches his jaws but does not answer. Very well. Since Ignace found nothing so far, I declare you cleared of all wrongdoings, including your most recent attack on my person. Do not do it again. Appearances must be preserved, and I would be forced to take drastic measures. Asshole. I heard you the first 10 times, Ariane of the Nerari. Mel, find her a room in the left wing and stay away from the right one. The Lancaster delegation is there. The hearing will begin tomorrow. Now, go. The others take me somewhere as I desperately pull on my fingers, but no matter how often I do, the phantom pain remains. Come on, cold mind of mine. Do your thing. Push the memories in the background where they lose color and intensity. Make me forget. Please. In there, Jimena whispers, lie on the bed, Ariane. It's over now. I'll stay with you. Mel, I'm calling Ainsa to me, can you get Wilhelm to send up something? Jasmine would help. I'll go now. Jimena caresses my head and I touch my fingers, one after the other. They're all there. They're fine. All there. All straight. Fine. Fine. Yes. Fine. All there. The door opens once more and Ainsa comes in. She looks a bit older now, older than Jimena in any case but not shockingly so. She lies by my side, so I am between them. The covers are comfortable. Ainsa is very hot also, so the feeling of her warm body next to mine is strange and rather comfortable too. A few minutes later, Melton returns and lights a few candles, then starts a fire in the hearth. The perfume of jasmine takes over the room. It is nice. Jimena smells good, the room smells good now as a result. And safe. I slow down on touching my fingers, but I do not stop. I move my toes, also. Sometimes I move my arms because I can. The pattern of the fire is fascinating. The fire dances and rolls without pause, never twice the same. I watch it. At some point, the room grows darker because they close the shutters. Dawn comes. Do not worry over much, I assure you that you are in good hands, Jimena assures me. That would be a nice change, I answer with a wince. Jimena says nothing, and she makes no comment when I lightly pull on one of my fingers. We make our way to the dreaded courtroom. I have no time to prepare, no time to work on anything. My hearing is to start tonight and this is it. My only saving grace is that the request not to delay came from my self-appointed lawyer, Salim of the Rosenthal, the same courtier who warned me of Lambert's coming. Jimena assures me that he is both experienced and competent. I do not have an eidetic memory, nor was I a lawyer in any point of my existence, so I shall rely on him. As my father would have said, they who choose to represent themselves have an idiot as a client. I just wish my fate did not depend on someone else, no matter how talented they may be. Just a warning, sister dear, if the Lancasters gain custody over me, I'm going out with a bang. If it comes to that, we both die tonight, she answers with a thin smile. There is not a trace of apprehension in her, though whether it comes from confidence in Salim or acceptance of death, I cannot say. Seeing my worried expression, she continues. Fret not, you will be a house before this is done. Then you will be free to go anywhere on the continent, visit Charleston, Boston, even make your own coven. Think of all the travels we could enjoy together, the people we will meet and eat. It shall be glorious. Yes, yes, I am so tired of being hidden. You will soon be embraced as one of us. You shall see. I was settled in a second-floor bedroom. The central wing of the manor is almost entirely dedicated to lodgings, as well as a few private reception rooms. The right wing contains suites meant for larger parties as well as a library, while the left wing is dedicated to offices and records. The underground floors go deep and are extremely well defended, with wards and mechanisms that make any day assault hazardous at best. Even Jimena does not know the full extent of its defenses. She tells me of a well-furnished armory, a sophisticated training room, magical workshops and a torture room, I suppose. We make our way along a corridor soberly decorated in earthy tones and dark woods, and down a large set of stone stairs. Wards are set at regular intervals and designed to reinforce the structure and, unless I am mistaken, to resist fire. They taste of snow and suffocation. The stairs end with a corridor crossing the one I had taken 3 days and an eternity ago. We turn right and soon come in view of the courtroom. We walk in. I remember to relax my grip on Jimena's hand when one of her knuckles cracks. She does not utter a sound. This time, the antechamber's desk is occupied by a severe-looking woman with mousy brown hair and a pinched face. She nods when she sees us and waves us in. Her aura is that of a weak, or very young master. I recognize the well-ordered feel of the Rosenthal, though I also notice a strange spikiness to it. Before I can notice more, we go between the two sentinels and into the room where my fate will once more be decided. I sure hope things will go better this time. On the right side, the plaintiff's side, I remember, there are 5 people and I recognize most of them. At the top of the table, Lady Moore's onyx hair is held up in an elaborate hairdo. Beside her is a vampire I do not recognize. Male from the clothes, with very pale hair in a black suit. Directly behind her, I see the backs of Melusine, Baudouin and if I am not mistaken, one of the Roland twins who presided over my duel with Jimena 30 years ago. Then my eyes look at my side. At the front sits Selim of the Rosenthal. Behind him, Naminata lounges in a fancy white cotton dress with a lot of frills while behind her, Ainsa is sitting upright next to a man I've never met. I look at him as I pass by and notice to my surprise that he is a very old Verger with a wild look, a large bald spot and a scruffy white beard. He stares as I go by, his eyes assessing. Jimena stops by Naminata and lightly pushes me forward. I sit next to Selim who gives me what I assume is an encouraging smile. I do not find the strength to retort. Instead, I close my eyes. Fingers fine. Toes fine. Fresh air. Can move. Good. I repeat this mantra in my head. It helps. I hoped that my cold mind would smother the memories. I suppose I should not be too greedy. A mortal would have needed actually a mortal would have died. We do not wait long. It seems that Constantine is not the kind of person to make others wait as a power play. He enters the room from the right-hand door with 3 vampires in tow. It is only now that I realize the implication of being here. Boston is the vampire capital of North America and I am in the seat of its government. The first man to follow is tall and very muscular, not like a worker but like a circus strongman. The brown ensemble he wears is bulging, and though it was obviously custom-tailored, it looks painted on. As if somebody had stuck a bear in a tuxedo. I do not need to taste his aura to recognize a Natalie's and I can tell that this one is old and very powerful. The second person to come through is a dainty young woman with blonde hair and crystalline blue eyes the color of the coldest ice. She wears an elegant sleeveless white dress and high gloves. She smiles innocently as she sees me and though her aura is subdued, I can tell without a doubt that this is a lady. The last man to come in is a lord as well though his aura feels like something is missing. He wears a scowl under bushy eyebrows and shoulder-length gray hair. His suit is also the color of ash, and shows a lean but muscular physique. His face is a bit older than the average vampire and with his steely eyes, he is like a wolf. He surveys the room calmly and without apparent interest. And to think I was impressed a few days ago. Forget about depopulating a small town, there is enough might in this room to destroy an army. Of course, they will probably never agree to fight side by side. The 3 newcomers take the elevated seats to my left and behind Constantine. They are diagonal compared to us, and their position gives them a commanding view of the proceedings to come. Constantine walks behind his pulpit and without ceremony, begins his speech. Ariane of the Nerari petitioned the speaker to obtain house status under the Accords. House Lancaster, the local representatives of Clan Lancaster, exerted their right to object. We shall now examine the validity of their claim. The verdict will come from a jury of neutral peers. Please welcome Lord Yarrick of the Natalies, Lady Sephair of the Hastings, as well as Lord Torin of the Dvor. To my surprise, Selim's eyes widen at the mention of the last name. I feel a shift in all vampires present. Apparently the man is important. Good for him. Keep in mind that anybody caught telling an outright lie will be left in Ignace's capable hands, no matter their rank. Barlow, you have the floor, Constantine finishes. Thank you, Excellence, the pale-haired man answers. He stands up and walks to the front. The man is quite handsome in an aristocratic way, but his sneer when our eyes meet twists his face into a mask of cruelty. In 1803, following the decennial conclave, House Lancaster took custody of Ariane of the Nerari as she was just a fledgling by agreement with her sire. The house dedicated a considerable effort and resources to raising her, efforts she repaid by fleeing her responsibilities 6 months later, after cheating on an accord-ordained duel and assassinating a coven mate in a cowardly way. Following this, she left a trail of destruction across America that proves without a doubt that this woman cannot be left to her own devices. We argue that House Lancaster was wronged, and that our generosity was spat on by the defendant. All that we demand is justice. We ask for reparations and that the culprit be released into our custody until the debt is repaid, for her own good. Thank you. The scoundrel walks back to his seat with dignity. I seethe. The audacity of these people. Will this abuse ever end? Salim, you have the floor, Constantine says in turn. Salim stands up with a slight smile and takes the place Barlow had occupied. The defense argues that the liberation of Ariane from the torment she was subjected to was at the time, a Lancaster internal matter. We argue that the plaintiffs do not have a legal ground to stand on, and that they waste this noble assembly's time with flimsy charges to get back at the vampire who outplayed them so thoroughly. We beg for the assembly to see through the ploy and bring the proceedings to a swift and just end. It lasts for one moment, but I can tell that Salim's plea finds echo in the speaker. He did strike me as a man who sees his own time as precious. Too precious, perhaps. My lawyer understands the judge well, an auspicious start. As Salim walks back, I realize that for the first time since leaving Marquette, I am feeling a new emotion. Hope. Barlow, you may start. Excellence, I call forward Lady Moore of the Lancaster. The haughty woman walks forward and to a small circle to the right of the open space I had not noticed before. She stands there as if her mere presence was a privilege we should appreciate. Her testimony is a heart-wrenching tale of how she rescued me from the clutches of my sire, a man known for his depravity and the horrendous way he treats his spawn. No objections there. The lady then elaborates on how she wanted to give me a chance at life despite my unfortunate ancestry, and did her best to educate and guide me until my fateful betrayal. I am furious, though I hide it rather well, and find out that being angry helps. I do not feel so haunted anymore. Instead, I add more, Anatole, and that sniveling little prick to the list of persons I will personally flay alive, then dip in a barrel of freshly squeezed lemon juice, before roasting them over a pit. Salim's turn comes. The difference between him and Barlow is striking. While the unctuous bastard speaks in flowery language interspersed with witty traits, Salim is sober and to the point. What compensation did you receive from Lord Nerari besides custody of my client? Objection, voices Barlow energetically, irrelevant. Constantine returns his gaze to Salim, indicating that he may answer. Excellence, the plaintiff presents taking Ariane as a favor done to her. I merely wish to demonstrate that it was anything but. Constantine's attention goes to Moore. This is a false dichotomy, young sir. I can act in a way that is beneficial to both Ariane and myself. Intelligence in business is not a flaw. So this was a business deal first and foremost, and as for beneficial, I have a copy of a letter sent to the Accords Administration dated August 1803 signed by your hand, asking for recognition for, and I quote, neutralizing the threat of a devourer spawn. I suppose this was you displaying intelligence while being your usual benevolent self, Lady Moore. Silence. No further questions, Excellence. The next person to come up is Baudouin, and I force myself not to smile at the implication. Melusine should have been next if they wanted to prove how much they contributed and how I repaid them. Their decision is probably for the best, though the jury might wonder why she did not intervene. The loyal servant explains in English, and in gory details, how I cleared a warehouse for him. He remembers how in the course of my work I displayed cruelty and malice beyond what was needed. He speaks of broken wrists and shattered limbs, of men and women drained of blood as soon as I was given the opportunity. His twisted tale does not anger me. Baudouin is a servant and servants align with their masters. It is the way of things. After Baudouin is done with his wild exaggerations, Salim stands up and smiles. How many separate missions did you trust Ariane with Lancaster business? Give us an estimate. Trust. Smart choice of words, Salim. Baudouin hesitates. You mentioned at least 13 different instances where she proved excessively violent, so I ask again, how many missions did you send her way? 50. More or less. Remind me, how many Lancaster vampires were present in the city during that time? They were not always there. Answer the question please. 7. There were 7 vampires to handle Lancaster affairs, and yet you relied so much on a fledgling from a different bloodline. Their time is precious. I do not know how you conduct your business, but here, we do not have lofty individuals waste their time on menial tasks. To defend the financial interests of your house is a menial task. Are you saying that you employed Ariane so many times because all other 7 vampires in the coven could not be bothered with menial tasks, and this despite your apparent disapproval of her conduct? I did not imply that. Let me summarize your tale, Baudouin. You repeatedly called on my client for sensitive affairs despite being extremely displeased with her savagery, because all 7 other members of the coven were busy with extremely important and sensitive cases. Yes. Silence. Don't bother answering, Baudouin. Another question, when you mentioned my client Ravenous Thirst, how many people had she already fed on those nights? I am not responsible for the vampire's feeding habits. Ah, but as your master's executor you should have been aware of the status of the fledgling you unleashed upon the city, yes? Surely you would not have let a thirsty fledgling run around without supervision and without feeding her. Such an irresponsible act would have been a grave violation of the safety clause of the Accords. She was not running unchecked. I was very careful. Were you? How did you enforce her obedience? Silence. Up till now, the jury had been quiet. This last sentence wakes up their interest. Suddenly, the atmosphere gets heavy and the weight of their attention falls on the servant. Answer the question, Baudouin, Constantine says in a deceptively soft voice. With a pain-based control bracelet. Painful, awkward silence as 4 judgmental sets of eyes land on Lady Moore. To her credit, she doesn't flinch. I know I would have. To summarize, the Lancaster benevolence implied grueling work, poorly managed feedings of a fledgling and loyalty enforced by a pain bracelet. For once, I will agree with the plaintiff, there are indeed reparations to be made. No further questions, Excellence. Baudouin walks back to his place as if he were on eggshells. The hostility in the jury's aura is an exceptional thing, as our instincts will naturally blunt the desire to harm servants. It appears that I am not the only one who despises captivity, and worse, captivity under someone who isn't a vampire. I steal a glance towards the Lancaster bench. Barlow and Moore are as impassive as ever, but behind them, Melusines' fists are clenched. Our eyes meet briefly. I understand that Salim is well prepared and doesn't need my input. He knows much about me and what I have done through Jimena, Nami, Isaac and Loth. I still think him reckless for proceeding so fast. There could be information I did not share yet and could be relevant for the trial. The next witness to be called by Barlow is one of the Rowland twins. He recounts how he presided over a duel and confirmed it was to the death under the Accords. Salim only objects when Barlow implies my duplicity instead of demonstrating it, and does not ask questions. Then Constantine declares a short recess. He leaves the room first, followed by the jury. They gauge me as they pass by. They look interested. The defendants are the first to leave and we are escorted to a receiving room by one of the speaker's silent sentinels. The groups do not leave together as a precaution against sudden violence. A wise choice, as I would happily stab them if I could get away with it. We sit on couches, including the old Dverger who looks completely out of place, and also vaguely smells of fish for some reason. Introductions first. I ask in English to be polite, and look at him. I know who you be, lassie. This voice, the insane eyes, the incredible age. Are you Erlinger? I know of Erlinger. Loth mentioned him often. Erlinger is ancient and pretty much a legend in Dverger clans. His temper is the subject of many a ballad, and so is his lust for women and mead. It is said that he broke his first axe on the head of one of Trajan's legionaries. It is said he plied his trade as a mercenary from the cold Kievan Rus to the shores of Hispania, that he was a captain in the Byzantine Varangian and a bodyguard for the First California. It is also said that he once wrestled a roast boar at his ex-wife's wedding. The boar won. He is not exactly known for his shining intellect. Nevertheless, Loth thought of him fondly last time we talked. It is Erlinger who taught him English after coming back from a stint in the Scottish Highlands. He is also my friend's oldest surviving uncle. Is it true that when you caught that narwhal? Ahem, Salim interrupts. I was distracted, and it felt nice. Though judging from the old man's scowl, I should have picked another story. Definitely not the one with the squid though. Our time is short, the lawyer continues. I need to ask you if you are in a good enough state to testify. It would certainly have been better if you had given me time to recover, I hiss in response. All there. All straight. All fine. No, I need to focus more. Calm down. There is a reason. Am I correct in assuming that you refuse to give the Lancaster anything? If they gain custody in any way, this will be my last night, and I shall take as many of them as I can on my way out. Then consider this. The final decision is to be made by the jury. They are the ones we need to convince. They are visiting dignitaries from Europe and they know of your recent ordeal. They do. Yes. They know that you were callously used by Constantine in a power play between himself and the knights. To know and to see are different things, however. Constantine does not understand the pain. He cannot. Salim's expression grows clouded and I recall Isaac mentioning torture training. He knows. There isn't a lord or lady alive who hasn't suffered enough pain to madden 100 mortals, yet here you are on the very next night, down but not out. You expect them to feel sympathy. Not sympathy, Ariane. Respect. Jimena sits closer. With a light finger, she brushes the side of my arm. On the other side, Nami bumps my shoulder. Very well, I will do it, I reply. Salim prepares me for the next 15 minutes, insisting that no good lawyer asks a question he doesn't know the answer to. I use the opportunity to indicate that Melusina's loyalty is uncertain, something that Salim is sure he can exploit if they try to use her. After that, I ask for a bit of privacy with Jimena. The others queue out of the room without complaint. When? I ask. When will it stop? Yes. I am sorry sister, I wish I had an answer but I do not. Lord Siren could help you perhaps later. Know that once this is over you will be free and have as much time as you need to recover. You have been either hiding or fleeing since you became one of us. Consider this, you will be able to visit any of our cities and be welcomed as a guest. I am not so sure. You will be welcome here, in Charleston by my clan and in New Orleans by the Econ. There are libraries, teachers and trainers you will call upon. There are wonders to visit and parties to attend, people to meet who were alive when Columbus was soiling his breeches. Think about it. I can't. I can only never mind. Let's get this over with, I will not be able to calm down until I know I am safe. Very well. Weakness. Powerlessness. I had forgotten for so long how it felt and now I am reminded of it once more, in this room filled with old monsters. Did you plan on cheating during your duel against Jimena of the Cadiz? No. Did you do anything that could be considered cheating? No. Did you know you would face her in battle? No. You must have suspected something to happen though. I expected something to happen, yes, so I was very surprised when she stabbed me in the heart. The members of the jury shift, perhaps amused. In any case, my innocence in subverting an Accord-sponsored duel should be established. It was not my ploy, and if they doubt my word, they can always ask Ignace for confirmation. That is one less tool in the Lancasters' arsenal of slanders and half-lies. Next, Salim has me go into details about the many tasks I had to do for Baudouin. My answers show a deep understanding of their structure and priorities, something that a barely contained thug would not have known. I briefly explain why the trophy-hunting mage's attack and Nami's subsequent rescue made more doubt my allegiance, and how she did not hesitate to use me in her arena. More tenses visibly at the mention of how much money was probably involved, and Barlow looks suddenly quite interested. Take that, you dishonest hag. Salim's measured diction calms me down, and I realize soon that the three members of the jury intentionally subdued their aura. They do not feel so domineering anymore, instead, they are slightly protective. Yes, they are dangerous, but not to me, or at least, not right now. It still takes all my willpower to stay upright. I just want this to end. I will go on a little bit more and all will be fine. Barlow stands up to interrogate me. Salim's advice was to answer the truth and not to worry about any impression I left. So, I will do that. I do not think hard, and I do not play coy. I answer concisely, and that's it. You went back to see your family, didn't you? Yes. Did they welcome you back? Yes. It doesn't seem to go as well as Barlow thought. I suppose that after considering me as a bloodthirsty moron for so long, the Lancaster ended up believing their own myth. When did they throw you out? They did not. I left the same night and maintained a loving relationship with my father until his death 3 years ago. And so on. How many people did you kill during your flight from New Orleans? Some mortal to slake my thirst, and a vampire. Françoise? Yes. You disposed of a fellow coven member to mask your treachery? No, I killed her because she was about to slay Ainsa, I say as I point to the servant in the room. A shocked gasp escapes the Hastings lady's mouth. She had already broken her fingers, I add helpfully. Of course, at that time Ainsa was not yet bound to Jimena, though I fail to elaborate on this specific point. Ahem. Yes. But what about after that? How many mortals perished by your hand? I count. The 3 idiots who were lynching that escaped slave named Toussaint, incidentally the first time I got drunk. Then Father Perry and his entourage. Barlow ends with a few perfidious and slanderous comments, implying that my testimony is unreliable and that I may have killed those I had been feeding on without realizing it. He points out to the increased number of disappearances during that time period, to which Salim objects. This ends his counter-interrogation. Already, members of the jury display signs of impatience. They make it subtle enough not to insult their host but easy enough for the rest of us to pick them. The fact that they sit slightly behind Constantine helps. Salim smiles and introduces the next witness. The plaintiff questions my client's ability to function alone. I will now demonstrate without the shadow of a doubt that she strived and succeeded beyond what can be expected from a 1-year-old fledgling as soon as she escaped her tormentors. For this, I shall call upon the testimony of King Loth of Skorag. King. Erlinger stands up and skulks his way to the front with a box in his gnarly paws. The artifact is an intricate silver construct with a needle on top, and a moderate magical aura emanates from it. It tastes like Loth, like mountain and steel. He made the enchantment himself. Erlinger, please state the reason for your visit, says Salim. It is extremely subtle, yet I notice that the courtier's expression is just a bit amused. The reason soon becomes obvious. Silence falls over the room. Constantine's gaze drills into Salim, who looks on placidly. The Hastings lady opens a fan to mask her obvious smile. What did he say? The speaker asks, annoyed. Erlinger is here at the behest of King Loth. I see, and what task was he given? I know, an extremely low-pitched and gravelly voice says. The one who speaks is the Natalie's lord. His voice is surprisingly soft for someone his size, and his words are slow and measured. It is a voice record box, a Dverger creation. They are very precious and rarely used. He is here to open it. This one can only be activated by the blood of a relative. It is a safeguard to prevent the message from being tampered with, the lord with the long gray hair adds. His voice is still a basso though not as low as his neighbor's. He also has a strange accent even in Akkad. There is rhythm to it, as if he were reciting. Constantine considers the item with curiosity. He's probably never seen one before. We shall hear your kin's message then, he says. The sentence is barely finished before Erlinger pricks a thumb on the device. The box shines blue with runes, then an illusory globe rises in the air. It vibrates slightly with each sound the enchantment produces. Is that bloody thing even on? Ah yes. Ahem. My name is Loth of Skorag. I have spent the past century in North America and for 10 years, I welcomed within my home and hearth Ariane of the Nirari. During that time, she respected all the terms of our arrangement without fail. Never did she kill one of my citizens, and never did she endanger my life or secrecy. She showed loyalty and candor in her dealings, curiosity and ingenuity in her pursuit of knowledge. She fought by my side and bled with me no matter the odds or the risks to her person. She helped me face my demons and made me a better man, not out of self-interest but because she wanted Ta help. She was in turn an apprentice, a confidant and an aide, and more than that she was a friend. A real friend who I would risk my life for without a sliver of hesitation. Ta all of ye oversea bloodsuckers, whoever ye are, ye have a diamond in your midst and I regret every day that she can't be here with me instead of these arse-licking, unruly ninnies. What good hunts we would have, ha! Anyway, I've said enough. Ariane if ye're here, next time we meet I'll make ye a gun that will blow an asshole's head clean off from a mile and then do it 5 times more without reloading, you'll see. Alright. This is King Loth, signing off. The sound bubble dissipates and I let out an uncontrolled gasp and lightly bend forward. Happiness. This emotion is so fleeting and precious that I forgot about the whole hearing to focus on that elusive warmth in my chest. I let it go through me. Only when it dissipates in the cold recess of my unbeating heart do I open my eyes again and straighten out. Both the jury and the speaker are looking forward though I know they saw my reaction. They pretended not to see my momentary weakness. That is a sign of respect. On the other bench, the Lancaster discomfort is obvious. If I had to judge how the hearing is going for them so far, I would have to use the word disastrously. Despite their numerous setbacks, Barlow hasn't given up yet. Erlinger, the two of them spent 10 years together. Would it not be possible for your king to have been under her influence? Ah, trying to discredit the witness in front of his grumpy uncle. Brilliant idea, moron, let's see how that works out for you. He respectfully disagrees, adds Salim, deadpan. The only sound is the groan of wood as Barlow's claws slowly dig into his desk. Beautiful. I think this is enough, Constantine declares while glaring at the Lancaster side. One last thing, sir, if I may, Barlow interjects respectfully. Gah, when will you give up? Constantine remains silent, which the lawyer interprets as permission to continue. We also have proof that Ariane of the Nirari allied herself with the White Cabal, a hostile religious order of mages who inflicted great pain upon our house. We argue that her cooperation with an enemy of all of us is a crime that requires punishment. And the reason why you did not mention this before? Constantine asks, out of patience. Our witness is Melusine of the Lancaster. She recently suffered a tremendous loss and we would have preferred not to cause her undue stress. Right. Melusine stands up and replaces Erlinger at the front. This is going to be good. Melusine, after the battle which cost your vassal his life, you bore witness to Ariane collaborating with the enemy, is that correct? Silence. Melusine's shoulders are tense and her face is a frozen mask. I dare not imagine the tumultuous emotion ravaging her mind right now, and I rejoice that she decided to honor our oath above her loyalty to her clan. Is that correct? Barlow repeats with visible anger. If I had been humiliated like he was, I would be angry too. Melusine, you forget yourself. Answer the question, he insists as Lady Moore's eyes throw daggers at the little minx. A condemning silence. This could not have gone any better. Saved me. The sound is barely a whisper, so silent that the mortals could not have heard, and yet for us it is like thunder in a blue sky. Pardon me. Barlow half screams. Melusine is screaming now. I bet they can hear her on the other side of the bay. Never mind my earlier comment, this is 1,000 times better than silence. More, you conniving piece of shit. My Arthur died because your stupid self could not be arsed to do things right and you sent me without backup to clean your shit. And now you order me to help. You think you're smart. You think you won the game. When the throne receives my report on your embezzlement and your scams, not even the miles of dick you normally gobble will save your scrawny ass from retribution. Forget the bay, they can hear her in London. The room grows quiet. Or at least I think it does, my ears are still ringing. By the Watcher. Wow. I am floored. Barlow and Moore gawp like a pair of beached fishes, aghast. Anything to add? Constantine adds politely while the irate redhair is still gasping for air. I want house status. As a political refugee, I presume? Yes. Your petition is accepted. Lords and lady of the jury, I propose we stop here. Do you need time to deliberate? No, Speaker. No. Indeed not. And what is the verdict? I, Yerrick of the Natalies, reject the Lancaster claim. I, Sepher of the Hastings, reject the Lancaster claim. I, Torrin of the Dvor, reject the Lancaster claim. The Lancaster claim is rejected. The request is granted. Welcome to the Accords, House Nirari. And that, as they say, is that. List of bloodlines. Amaretta, a bloodline focused on prophecy and vision. Their progenitor is active but only meditates. Most Amaretta members are female and they are concentrated around the Western Mediterranean. Known member. Aisha, member of the North American Night Squad. Amaretta, the progenitor. Cadiz, a clan based in Spain, whose members are known to achieve supernatural focus. They boast many of the world's greatest duelists, though they sometimes suffer from tunnel vision. Their progenitor has gone through a portal in search of a challenge. Many of their members support the Eneru faction. Known members. Siren, Lord, first met by Ariane in the fortress, contributed to her escape in exchange for Lancaster confidential information. Jimena, Ariane's friend and blood sister, knight, owner of a soul sword called Justice. Suarez, Lord, first encountered during the Charleston heist. Ariane had previously rescued his vassal and he repaid his debt by helping her escape the Night Squad when they came to slay her. Constantine himself has not yet sired a spawn. His powers are unknown. Known members. Constantine, the man who established the political order for all vampires in North America, under a unified system of laws called the Accords. He is the Speaker. He has some limited military power and is also one of the world's greatest living blood mages, making him a powerhouse. Dvor vampires bind with a territory and mostly remain there. They are significantly stronger when defending it against intruders and weakened while away. All of them support Eneru and make up most of the alliance's upper ranks. Their progenitor is asleep in his city somewhere in North Africa, while his descendants concentrate around the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Known members. Torrin, Lord. Not much else is known at this juncture. Ehrenwald, based in Germany and Central Europe, Ehrenwald vampires favor nature and the wilderness. They are the only bloodline animals do not shun, and rear most nightmares. Some of them can perform druidic magic and their progenitor turned himself into a tree. They contribute heavily to the followers of the path, the third vampire faction. Known members. Ogotai, Ariane's jailer back at the fortress when she first woke up. He turned against his superior Lady Moore out of hatred and opened the fortress to the order of Gabriel. He was killed years later. Wilhelm, not much is known about this lord, only that he is Constantine's steward. Hastings can walk in indirect sunlight, though they consider it unpleasant. They also naturally wake up early and can consume food and drinks. In exchange, they are physically weaker than the other bloodlines, though they should never be underestimated. Their progenitor recently eloped with a mortal and they hide somewhere in the English countryside. The clan is a major contributor of the Mask Alliance. They concentrate in the United Kingdom and France. Known members. Hastings, the progenitor. She is on holiday. Sephair, not much is known about her yet. Econ vampires are obsessed with new experiences, gathering their impressions in a magical repository known as the Great Book of the Econ. Their progenitor died to experience the sun and share his experience. Several copies of the book exist across the land, updating themselves as soon as a new entry is made. Econ vampires possess increased thirst and pain resistance to assist them in their endeavor. They are mostly neutral and seldom gather, preferring to travel the land in their never-ending quest for the new and the exciting. As a result, they do not have a main territory. They are also one of the few clans recruiting in Central Africa and the Guinean Gulf. Known members. Naminata, the Singing Spear, Master, Ariane's friend. Known for her reckless nature and legendary sexual appetite. Kuaku, Lord, one of the few Econ who does not travel much. He handles Econ financial interests in Louisiana and is a major supporter of the clan as one of their few sedentary lords. Kalinan vampires can resist and even wield holy symbols so long as they believe their cause is just. Their progenitor was killed in combat and devoured by Nirari. They make their home in western Russia, particularly around Moscow and St. Petersburg. They are neutral. No known members so far. Lancaster vampires are exceptional at charm. They are the other clan operating in the United Kingdom and also support Mask. Their progenitor was killed by a once-in-history alliance of mages, Gabrielites and even some vampires. Known significant members. Moore, Lady, previous head of the Louisiana House. Melusine, recent master, made a nuisance of herself for Ariane. Capable mage. She recently entered a truce with Ariane. Lambert, master, enforcer, mage, had his heart on the other side of his chest. Slain by Ariane in single combat. Natalie's vampires boast incredible physical strength. It comes at a cost to their intellectual abilities, though most of them are not completely stupid. Their progenitor has disappeared and some suspect that he has died. Natalie's are mercenaries and bodyguards, having very few holds of their own. Most Natalie's lords support the Eneru faction. Known members. Yarrick, Lord, not much is known about him yet. Nirari, the Devourer bloodline, the first vampires. Nirari can absorb a fragment of the strength of their victims and keep it for themselves at the cost of particularly strong instincts. Because of the progenitor's use of his spawn, only 4 devourers are currently alive while some newer bloodlines boast numbers in the hundreds. Lord Nirari himself is locked in a secret war with his mother, a conflict that has spanned millennia. He is considered unstoppable by most organizations. Known members. Nirari, Ariane's sire. Ancient Prince of Babylon. The first one to receive the elixir of flawed eternal life. He is cruel and vindictive, though he always respects his word. Ariane, you know. Svyatoslav, the first spawn to gain his independence. Svyatoslav was a prince of Kievan Rus. He is currently operating in Russia. Malachim, Nirari's right hand, a tortured soul devoured by hatred. Roland vampire boast an unbreakable will that lets them train harder, fight longer and pursue passions with more determination than any other bloodline. They, unfortunately, tend to be stubborn as a result. They are based in France and make up the core of Mask's military. They have a tradition of being patrons of the arts, even more so than the Rosenthal. Their progenitor is currently slumbering in an unknown location. Known members: Gaspard, Lord, slain by Nerari at the vampire fortress after provoking him. Anatole, a master previous head of the Night Squad, he is an arrogant prick. He went after Ariane hard out of blind hatred and got exiled for it. Neshoba called him a pretender. Rosenthal, the Rosenthals boast an eidetic memory and synthetic mind. They are completely neutral and act as the lore keepers, bankers and administrators of vampire kind. They benefit from a positive relationship with other factions of the supernatural world and boast a powerful mortal military made of well-trained and loyal mercenaries. Rosenthal vampires are mostly uninvolved and are forbidden from taking part in conflicts by their progenitor herself. They operate out of Switzerland but recruit everywhere. Known members: Isaac, Ariane's banker and wealth manager. He became a master following a hunt they shared. He has a rebellious streak. Salim, Isaac replacement after he departed from America. Vanheim, the wild cards of their kind. Their powers are unpredictable, and the progenitor is unknown. Vanheim are rare, few, and often isolated, though they are not shunned outright. Known members: none so far. The three vampire alliances. Masks dominate Western Europe. They favor infiltration and influencing the world from the shadows. They are known patrons of the arts, funding extravagant works and hosting grand balls. Their games and contests are often cruel. Masks dominate Western Europe except for Spain. Eneru members postulate that vampires, as long-lived and resilient individuals, have the potential to be superior rulers. That is not to say that any vampire has the necessary leadership skills, of course. Member of Eneru will semi-openly rule small domains over which they have near complete control, employing talented mortals as representatives and agents. They tend to be traditionalists, though many of them still understand the need to change. Eneru vampires control Spain, parts of North Africa, parts of the Middle East and parts of the Balkans. They are more fragmented than masks. Followers of the Path. The followers are isolationists and can be considered a faction only insofar as they oppose the two others. Followers control Central and Northern Europe as well as Western Russia. The Accords. A good number of vampires have moved to North America, until a community formed under the patient rule of Constantine. The Accords heavily regulate conflict between the eclectic members of the group. Constantine's personal guard as well as himself and a squad of knights ensures that discipline is enforced with deadly efficiency. The White Cabal. Based in the state of New York, the White Cabal is a group dedicated to the protection and development of mages in North America. They have recently started to gain a significant amount of power. Their budding military mixes mages and mundane soldiers and uses specialized tactics. The Order of Gabriel. A fanatical order devoted to the extermination of all things supernatural. They are well trained and well funded for the most part, and do not hesitate to sacrifice their lives in the hope of killing one more monster. They go mostly after practitioners, rogue and otherwise, but will attack vampires if they think they have a shot at taking one down. The attrition rate of the order is extremely high, but there is no shortage of volunteers to join their ranks, as supernatural entities often leave many vengeful victims in their wake. Other characters. Akil, Ariane's brother, currently still alive. He is a bit on the judgmental and stubborn side, though he does have a good heart. We know little of him save that he made the family business prosper and had many children. Ainsa, Jimena's servant and long-term lover. She was instrumental in freeing Ariane from Lancaster servitude. Arthur, Melusines' vassal, he died saving her from an order ambush. Cecil Rutherford Bingle, an adventurer and a gentleman. He returned to England after sharing an adventure with Ariane, and married the woman he had met there, Rose. He has a peculiar magic that turns everything dramatic around him. Dalton, Ariane's first vassal, he was killed by the Key of Bariat during the 1812 conflict. His death was avenged by Ariane after a major battle, after which she gained the ability to destroy magic with her claws, at the cost of energy. Erlinger, Loth's uncle. One of the oldest living Dvergr and possibly the dumbest as well, he is known for a strange mix of courage, blind luck and sheer stupidity. Harrigan, Ariane and now Merritt's head of security, a despicable but disciplined man. Jonathan Hopkins, dark hair, dark eyes, a sober man with a mind like a bear trap. Jonathan first joined the Order before switching allegiance and turning the White Cabal's military into a professional force. David King, a rescued slave who joined the Odd Squad after Ariane bought and freed him. His father died fighting Wendigos. Kitty, the Dream's leading girl. Loth of Skorag, a Dvergr dwarf from Scandinavia. Loth is a master artificer and a deadly fighter. He is also a scholar who will happily talk about his family's long and tumultuous history. He recently returned to his home country. Loth is extremely tall, bulky and the proud owner of a dark bushy beard. A few strands of silver have made their way into it, not that he much cares. Notably fond of mature beauties. Alexandria Merritt, previously free mage who joined Ariane as her second in command. Merritt is loyal, though she is still fond of the occasional mischief. She has 2 children, Ollie and Lynn. All 3 are redheads. Semiramis, Nirari's mother and the single greatest mage who ever lived, she was granted immortality by the entity known as the Eye or the Watcher against allowing his essence into the world. Semiramis is sometimes tasked by the Watcher with creating an elixir of flawed eternal life. Upon consumption, the Chosen will become the progenitor of a new bloodline. She is trying to become a goddess and is locked in eternal conflict with her son Nirari, the first vampire. Her den possesses strange dimensional properties. Sivaya, an ethereal beauty and princess of the Lycian court of blue, she is a magical genius. Politically, however, she is a disaster according to Lycian standards. She is currently working on a way for her people to go home. Sola, a beautiful albino girl, a rare natural healer and purifier, capable of closing even grievous gut wounds. She is part of the White Cabal. Neshoba, shaman of the Choctaw Nation. He made the earrings Ariane is still using to evade detection. He could see the future, and called Ariane daughter of thorn and hunger. He died from Ariane's hand as a way to escape the pain of his disease. Ariane liked him fondly and carries his memory. Papa, technically named Hercule Raynaud but effectively Papa forever, Ariane's dad was ever supportive of his child even when she lost her soul. He met her several times and they kept a steady correspondence until his death in the early 30s. His wife Diane died very early in Ariane's life, making him her sole parent, a role which he dedicated himself to. Sinead, the most powerful Lycian on the planet, and a prince of the court of summer. He is at times a rogue and a dilettante, and at times a deadly schemer. No matter what, it always looks like he gets what he wanted in the end. Both Ari and him have done things for the other that they did not have to do. The Watcher, the embryo of a creator god, the Watcher will one day die to give birth to a new universe, or at least this is what Semiramis believes. Nobody is exactly sure what its agenda is, or indeed if it has one to begin with. All that is known is that the Watcher is sapient, can communicate and is intimately tied to vampires and their existence.